Mayor Penserga,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cruz,
Present.
Commissioner Hay,
Here.
Commissioner Turkin,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. Our invocation for this evening will be led by Pastor Tim McNeil of St. John Missionary Baptist Church, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Turkin. Let's all stand for the invocation and pledge.
Good evening. Let us pray.
A microphone.
Father, we do thank you for this opportunity to come and to handle municipal business. We thank you because you are the sovereign God and you are the creator of all things. And as we prepare tonight to conduct the business for the city of Boynton Beach, we first of all pause for this cause on purpose to acknowledge you, that without you, there can be no direction. Without you, there can be no guidance. And without you, there can be no decision. We ask that you would lead all of the leaders. We ask that you would bless each and every one that participates tonight. And then most of all, God, we ask that you would continue to bless this city to have proper vision. Bless those in the city to work the vocation so that all of us collectively can receive the victory. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, we do pray. We thank you and we appreciate you. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And Pastor McNeil, thank you for coming. If I'm not mistaken, a congratulations is also in order. Welcome to Boynton Beach. Thank you, sir. Moving on to agenda approval, additions, deletions, and or reorganizations of the agenda. First, I'd just like to turn to the city manager if there was anything from staff on that end. Any additions, deletions, and or reorganizations?
No, Mayor, there's not.
All right, so let's go around the dais. Let's begin with Commissioner Hay, followed by the Vice Mayor, and so on. Commissioner Hay?
As far as
Additions, deletions, and or reorganizations?
I have no addition, deletion.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
No changes for me.
All right, Commissioner Turkin?
Yeah, I got nothing to what's on here now, but I would like to add some future agenda items.
Sure, let's discuss.
Sure. So I'd like to ask staff to look at what we can do for small businesses in terms of waiving or minimizing the arts impact fee. I'd also like to look at changing, and I don't know what the avenue for this would be, but changing the minimal requirement for traffic studies. I think now we'll accept a D. So I want to look at maybe improving that. Obviously, that'll be, based on discussion amongst us all. But, I'd like to get that conversation going. And then get an update about the speed bumps that were proposed in Seacrest Estates, get it started in Seacrest Estates, I'm sorry, and then potential speed bumps in Chapel Hill, and then an update. Commissioner Hay, I think you might have a little bit more of an idea. We were at that event last weekend, and that was a concern. If we could get an update and maybe reach out to the community about where we're at with those speed bumps. I don't know the streets.
Yes, I'm working with Dan Dunmar to make sure that we have the right places to put those speed bumps and get the input from the surrounding neighborhood. So that
Awesome.
is in process.
Awesome. All right. I just want to make sure we didn't miss that.
We're not
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
overlooking that.
All right. Awesome. And then also there's a proposed business, I think, coming in where the old Toys R Us is. I know Bed Bath and Beyond had just closed or is planning to close over there. We're going to lose some jobs. So I want to look at what we can do to also bring some more jobs to the city as well. I think that's it.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner. Those are interesting and excellent points of conversation. So I look forward to hearing those updates. And please do connect with staff. I'm sure they're going to have questions for you about the traffic study that you're interested in. Let's go to Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you.
Additions, deletions, reorganizations.
Thank you, Mayor.
I just wanted to add to future agenda items. I've been talking to city staff about some stuff going on in District 4 in regard to an eco park update. And so I think we're finally ready to give the public an update on what's going on with the eco park.
Excellent.
And so I would like to add that to future agenda.
Excellent. Let's do that. That's important to many of us, if all of us, the Eco Park. If you're not familiar, please be there for that meeting because it is going to be a jewel, not just for our city, but for the region. Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. All right. Hearing nothing else, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? May I have that motion?
So moved.
We have,
Second.
I don't know who was first. You said it so quickly. Commissioner Turkin was the motion. I heard a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is unanimously approved. The agenda is amended. All right, let's begin with informational items by members of the City Commission. I will go last because I have an announcement that is perfect for our audience today as it relates to the Boynton Beach Bulldogs and the cheerleaders. Let's begin now in opposite order. Let's go with Commissioner Kelly, and then we'll go with Commissioner Turkin. Any informational items from members of the City Commission?
No, Mayor.
All right, Commissioner Turkin.
Negative.
Vice Mayor.
Not for today's meeting, no.
All right, Commissioner Hay.
Yes, I do. I would like to inform my community and citizen Boynton some activities that I attended. I met with Bradley Miller and David Camilleri, an affiliate organization. I also attended the opening of the neurobehavioral hospitals here in Boynton Beach, which is quite unique. Also attended the kinetic exhibits and the First Friday concert, and had a community discussion, has been brought up by Commissioner Turkin, out at Sarah Sims Park. I also like to acknowledge that we know that this month of February is Black History Month. And I just like to say a few words, and I will be doing that periodically. The celebration of Black History Month began as Negro History Week. It was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, a noted African-American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976. The month of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Black History Month honors the contributions of African Americans to U.S. history. Among the prominent figures are such people as Madam C.J. Walker, who was the first U.S. woman to become a self-made millionaire. George Washington Carver, who delivered nearly 300 products from the peanut. Rosa Parks, who sparked the Montgomery bus boycott and galvanized the civil rights movement. And then there was Shirley Chisholm, who was the first African American woman elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, just to name a few. I encourage all of you to celebrate the contributions of African Americans as we continue to have this history review. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. As for myself, as some of you know, I have made it a habit to acknowledge our wonderful staff. And sometimes, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that don't get any credit. This meeting, I would like to acknowledge the wonderful work of Glenn Weiss, our Director for Arts in Public Places. In addition to him and his team, also members of the Arts Advisory Board, and everyone who took part in making the Kinetic Biennial a fantastic event. We saw members from our Recs and Park team get involved, from our events and marketing. This was all hands on deck, and I am just so proud of all of you because it's events like these that really make our city stand out. And I'll share with you, I received a wonderful email from one of our local businesses. And he said to me, Mayor, because of the wonderful work that they have done, this is the highest grossing revenue that they have had in a single day because of all the people that you attracted. So thank you to all of you. Congratulations. And we appreciate you sincerely. My next announcement is something very exciting, and I think many in the Boynton Beach Bulldog family will appreciate. I am honored to announce that the Youth Enrichment Association for Academic and Athletics, it is a nonprofit organization who supports the Boynton Beach Bulldogs youth tackle football and cheerleading program. That organization has been awarded a $250,000 grant. $250,000. You haven't heard yet where it came from and what it's for. For athletic field refurbishments through the National Football League Foundation, the NFL Foundation, and local initiative support corporation's grassroots field grant program. This grant will be utilized to install synthetic sports turf at the Zell Hester Junior Athletic Field in Boynton Beach, the home field for a national champion Bulldogs. The athletic field, let's give them a round of applause. The athletic field refurbishments will be part of the Zell Hester Junior Community Center Park Improvement Project. Additional park improvements through the project will include, but are not limited to, creation of more parking spaces, much needed. Replacement of bleachers and press box, also much needed. Addition of a walking trail, new landscape and irrigation additions, plus modifications, new sports and parking lot lighting, and so much more. We are so fortunate to be one of 16 cities to be awarded this grant. Since its inception in 1998, the Grassroots Field Grant Program has built or refurbished 431 fields nationwide, totaling $61.8 million. The Grassroots Field Grant Program is funded through a partnership with the NFL Foundation, as mentioned earlier, and Local Initiative Support Corporation, the nation's leading community development support organization. So more investment is coming to our city to support wonderful people and community members like all of you. So thank you. Moving on to the next portion of the agenda, which is our announcements and presentations. Perfect segue. We would like to recognize the Boynton Beach Bulldogs 11U youth tackle football team for winning the Battle Youth National Championship. And the 7U cheerleaders for winning first place in the grand championship at the American Youth League cheer competition. So we have a plaque for both all of the Boynton Beach Bulldogs as well as the cheerleaders. So the members of the commission would love to meet you up in the front and take a group photo as we present to you and your team leaders the plaque to represent our appreciation of everything that you do and for being the pride of Boynton Beach. So thank you all. So let's meet downstairs. All right, Vice Mayor, would you do me the honor of helping carry one of them?
Oh, thanks.
Okay. How are you? Hey. I see you guys.
More space. Tall guys in the back will be up here with y'all.
Yeah, probably right here.
Come on, Jason.
How are you?
All right, let's move this way.
All right.
All the wide receiver line.
Get in close with you and Big Red. You gotta come back in. Oh, yeah.
You like being in the picture? It's going in there.
Thank you, everyone. We are certainly not finished with the announcements. We have a lot to recognize today. We have great people doing amazing work in our city. All right, I'll give it a few minutes. Oh, come on up. Absolutely. Wants to say a few words.
I'd just like to,
Sir, please state your name for the record.
Coach Maxell Wells, Boynton Beach Bulldog, 11U. I'd like to appreciate, everything y'all doing for the kids. As he was reading some of those historic names, I kind of feel like some of those names are within our youth for the future. So that's a nice thing, kind of touched me with that. But far as all the help you guys are doing, man, that's definitely greatly appreciated. I've been volunteering for like 20 years. We have over 300, youth kids in the program. So, it go a long way, over the last, I guess maybe 10 years, the coaches have been pretty much funding everything out of our pocket. So when you guys mention that scholarship or that grant we're getting, hey, I greatly appreciate it. So on behalf of the Boynton Bulldogs, man, my heart go out to you guys, man. One of the greatest cities in Florida.
Areas constant, Coach Goose as well. I want to say, first off, congratulations to the Boynton Beach Bulldogs organization for, being a class act, putting everything together for the kids. We do a good job at, putting them first. They do a good job on the field, but I also want to, let you all know how great they do in the classroom. We got a lot of academic scholars, they do a great job. These boys, man, I'm telling you, some of the greatest kids you ever coach. We do this stuff for free, man. We don't get paid. I mean, we like a second father, second brother, uncle, and we take our shirt off and give these kids the things that they don't have. So the support you're giving us, recognizing these guys, recognizing these coaches, these team moms, these parents, the community, I really appreciate that, man. Because like I said, we do it for free. I never thought we'd be up here, being honored by you all. So like I say, giving these kids the opportunity, we try to give them going out of town, fundraising money, taking money from our families, to fund this stuff. It's really tough. But at the end of the day, to see the smile on those kids' face, I realize why we do it. I mean, I'm a teacher myself. You know, I'm trying to touch the youth as much as possible, but I want y'all to get a chance to get to a game, see these kids, man. They're some of the great individuals you meet, and they're going to touch you, man. I'm telling you, they're going to touch you. So if you get a chance, come out to the games, represent these boys. These boys do a great job in the classroom first, you know what I mean, as well as on the field. So I definitely wanted to let you all know we greatly appreciate everything y'all have done. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hay?
Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate you. And I had a distinct pleasure of coming out to many of your Bulldogs games, as you remember. I started to do a little announcing, but I didn't. But it reminded me of my days. I used to coach the Rams, the Bulldog Rams, if some of you remember that, okay, where my son played. But you guys are doing an outstanding job. It's an honor to contribute financially a few $1,000s to your cause. And you guys are doing an outstanding job, because these are some of the kids we would be wondering, what are they doing? Where are they? And you have taken of your time, unpaid, okay, to work with our kids. So our hats off to you, and many, many years of success in the coming years, okay? God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda, we would like to recognize another amazing group in the city. These are our Boynton Beach firefighters who won first place in the Rapid Intervention Team competition at the Fire Rescue East Conference in Daytona in January 2023. The Rapid Intervention Team competition is a timed event that pits teams from across the country and tests their ability to rescue a downed or trapped firefighter. The drill consists of navigating through an obstacle course that simulates a structural collapse and trapped firefighter. The competition was fierce this year, and the following members were triumphant, bringing home the first place trophy and accolade for being the best team in the country. The members, let me say their names. The members of the team that participated are Team Leader, Battalion Chief Matt Oxidine. All right.
Come on up.
Yep, come on down.
Go up.
Lieutenant Brandon Seinhardt, firefighter Kate Kilpatrick, firefighter Kyle Hope. Did I say that right? Almost. All right. Firefighter Kyle Neal. So let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Chief, if you could say a few words.
I would love to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, citizens of Boynton Beach. I want to tell you that in my career of public service, if the blessings received from a life of public service aren't enough, what is a blessing is to see men and women who risk their lives every day out in their community doing extra, doing more than is required. And the men and women of Boynton Beach Fire Rescue make me proud every day to be part of this organization. So I'm very proud today to recognize these folks who under fierce competition brought home this accolade. And I'd like, if I could, to introduce the team leader. That's Chief Oxendine to my right, and he's going to go ahead and he's going to just explain a little bit more about this wonderful achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having us out here and announcing what we've done for the city, and we are more than happy to do it. I just really appreciate you didn't announce the Girl Scout cookies yet. Or else we wouldn't have had anybody here to listen to us. So I'll go ahead and start. The mayor already said we were in a rapid intervention team competition. Basically, if you're not familiar with that, every fire that you go to, every fire that we go to, we respond to, we're obviously there for you, your citizens. We're there for life safety, property conservation, and obviously general public needs. What nobody thinks about is what happens if a firefighter goes down, who's there for them? Well, that's where this team comes in. And there's not just the four of us, one of them couldn't make it, but not just the four of us or five of us here. We train across the department. So this year, very challenging. We had a lot of people scheduled to go that couldn't make it. We had to call on some people kind of the day of to come up there, and to go ahead and win something like this is just a testament to the training that we do for the community and our department. So it all worked out, and we appreciate it. But I'm gonna go back to the RIT part. we show up to a fire on our technical rescue truck. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's the big truck parked out there, says Special Operations and TRT. Basically what they handle is more of a low frequency, high risk situations, from trench, structural collapse, confined space, VMR, which is like not just your normal extrication when people get in accidents, it's more of like semi trucks on top of cars and really heavy lifting, and high angle rescue, which would be like your towers around here, your window washers in case something happens to them. But our most frequent job that we do all the time because of the nature of our job is that group that's on that truck is assigned to the RIT team on every fire. So when they show up, they basically walk around the house. They take off the hurricane shutters that are already supposed to be off, the burglar bars that are locked up, anything that's going to hindrance us from getting in and trying to save one of our own. That's what their job is. So, I mean, they do a number of things, but they're always ready. They're always listening to the radio. So that's basically their job. I'm going to read you off the actual, this competition gives you a real scenario that happened. And not always do the firefighters live. This firefighter ended up passing away. I'm just going to read you some of what it was about. So, because that's what this competition is about, is remembering the fallen. So this was August 11th, 2021, very recent. This was Captain Laird. He called out a mayday, 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 mayday. This is engine 251. I've fallen through the floor in the fire room. Captain Laird made several more transmissions verbalizing his locations, equipment needed to effect the rescue, and the conditions he was facing. Many of his attempted radio transmissions were also rejected during this period due to other units controlling the channel with ancillary transmissions. Additionally, upon receipt of the mayday, there was a lack of tactical discipline, crew integrity issues, and a lack of coordination between his units. Personnel headed to that location, to the basement, forced entry and prepared to make entry to search for Captain Laird. He made one last transmission. Hey guys, tell my family I love them. Sorry, firefighter. They ended up dropping a ladder down, getting him out. He ended up passing away. So we never want to see one of our brothers or sisters or family members. That's why we train so hard, and we train so hard for this city. So it really is a testament to this fire department, and we're very proud to serve you guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, let's do a group picture. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I stopped here.
Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. All right, our final recognition for the evening, or second to final. I'm going to throw this off to Commissioner Hay. This is a recognition for Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Commissioner Hay?
Yes. As stated, this is to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc., Xi Phi Omega Chapters Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the City of Boynton Beach Commission, I would like to recognize the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc., Xi Phi Xi Phi Omega chapter for 40 years of dedicated service to the Boynton Beach community. On February the 26th, 1983, through the efforts of 22 original chapter members, the Xi Phi Omega chapter was created in neighboring Delray Beach. Since its inception, the chapter has fundraised to provide scholarships for local high school seniors through their annual golf tournament. In addition, in conjunction with the American Heart Association, they hosted the Pink Go Red at the Boynton Beach Arts and Cultural Center, where they raised money for the American Heart Association and provided helpful information to community members on promoting heart health through exercise, diet, and regular monitoring of blood pressure. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. Xi Phi Omega chapter has also visited senior communities within the city of Boynton to host activities. Dwayne Jackson Clayton is joined by chapter members tonight to accept the certificate and provide remarks. This is the certificate, and it reads, Certificate of Recognition. The following award is given to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc., Xi Phi Omega chapter. This certificate is given to this organization for their 40 years of dedicated service within the city of Boynton Beach. Daniel Duggar, City Manager, City of Boynton Beach, Ty Penserga, Mayor of City of Boynton Beach, and presented by Commissioner Woodrow Hay of District 2. Will the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority please meet me down below, along with the, are we all gonna do it again?
It's up
to you.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Let's all do it.
Special day.
It's a special day. Come on down front. All of you. Oh, you're beautiful.
Dwan.
Juan. Okay. Who's gonna receive? This was just getting back. You guys probably need to be up.
Yeah, you the tallest.
It's easy to be me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Dwayne, if you have to say some words. Microphone. Ladies, lay up it. Okay.
Oh, now.
Please state your name for the record.
Greetings, Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Dwan Jackson Clayton, and I am the 21st President of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Xi Pi Omega Chapter. On behalf of my chapter members, I would like to thank you for this letter of recognition honoring our 40 years of service in the Boynton Beach community. Xi Pi Omega chapter was chartered on February 26, 1983 by 22 dynamic women who wanted to serve the South Palm Beach County area, including the city of Boynton Beach. The vision became a reality under the leadership of Mrs. H. Ruth Pompey. And I am very excited to say that we have 3 of those charter members here with us. And if they would please stand, Barbara Norris, M. Sue Jackson, and Ramona Wright.
Right.
Through the years, we have provided service to all mankind in Boynton Beach by hosting such events as Pink Goes Red, which promotes heart health, our annual golf tournament that funds scholarships for high school seniors, volunteering at St. John Missionary Baptist Church with Feeding the South Florida, and servicing seniors at various senior living facilities. This past November, we provided over 100 baskets to families throughout South Palm Beach County to include Boynton Beach. As we continue to celebrate our 40 years of service, I invite you to visit the Spady Museum in Delray Beach, where a display of our history is currently on exhibit and will be there until February 17th. We will conclude our celebration on February 24th at Benvenuto's here in Boynton Beach for our gala, Soaring into 40 Years of Service and Sisterhood, a Pink and Green affair. We will begin the night with a reception, followed by dinner, dancing, and awards presentation honoring 6 distinguished members of the community. Again, I would like to thank you on behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Xi Pi Omega Chapter.
Thank you. Joining us this evening are 2 very special guests. They are school board members Erica Whitfield and Edwin Ferguson. They are here to join us to discuss the state of education in the city. So I'd like to call up board member Whitfield and Mr. Ferguson.
Great. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you having us here today. This is going to be a quick presentation. I hope we're going to keep it. We have a ton of information. I do want to open it up for any questions that you all may have, but I really appreciate you having us here today. So I'll try to keep mine to 5 minutes and then I'll pass it to Mr. Ferguson. So my name is Erica Whitfield. I am your school board member here in Boynton for the last 8 years. I just got reelected, so you'll have me for another 4, which I'm so pleased. So thank you so much to the voters for that. I wanted to first bring up our mission. We as a school board changed our mission just over a year ago. And the new mission is to educate, affirm, and inspire each student in an equity embedded school system. This is something that we have put into everything that we do in the school system. Secondly, we have added in our core beliefs, and I'm going to read those to you really briefly. Every student can learn and is capable of growth and success. Every student is deserving of programs and opportunities that match their needs and interests. We all have a role in student success. High expectations for both students and employees will promote high performance. Investing in our employees is an investment in their ability to serve our students. Diversity makes our community stronger and must be celebrated and fostered. Palm Beach County Schools are the community's best choice, and we must prove that every day with an unwavering commitment to prioritizing the needs of our students. We developed a strategic plan following the development of the new mission, vision, equity statement, and our core beliefs. And not to belabor it, but I'll just tell you the 4 things that we're looking towards: academic excellence and growth, a student-focused culture, mental health and wellness, and committed, impactful employees. I'll talk really briefly about mental health and wellness in a second. That is very important to me and to the school system. And then the student-focused culture, there was a lot of concern during the pandemic that we weren't being customer service friendly. So I just want to let everybody know we always believed that we were, but we're even putting that more out there because we believe that we want everyone to love the school that they participate in. So the things I'm going to talk about really quickly are some of the scores, and Mr. Ferguson's going to talk about his schools as well. I have a few here in Boynton Beach. Citrus Cove is one of mine. They have actually increased in grades 4 and 5 in their English this past year. Cross Point Elementary has done fairly well of staying stable. The general theme for all our schools, and Mr. Pinserga will know this as a teacher, is that we were here, and then during the pandemic, we went down a little bit and we're kind of on the way back up again, which is a wonderful thing that we are starting to see that recovery from the pandemic. But during our scores, that is definitely a dip that we saw. So as I said, their Cross Point is doing a pretty good job of staying stable. Freedom Shores is also one of my schools. It's improved in grades 3 and 4, and they lost a little ground in grade 5. When you look at our scores, you have to remember too that for 2 years, our students really weren't in the building by and large. Some of them were, but many of them were working from home. And so that caused a really big drain on their ability and extra strain on our poor teachers who had to try to work with that. Congress Middle and Boynton Beach High are also schools that are in District 4. Congress Middle and Boynton Beach High both lost ground in 6, 8, and 9, but improved in grades 7 and 10. That is something that I think you're going to see more improvement as time goes on. You know, we're putting as much resources as we can into those schools. We just see so much potential there. In our math, Citrus Cove declined slightly in grades 3, but improved in the other grades. Cross Point has improved across the grade levels, and we're so proud of the work that they're doing. Freedom Shores has increased in grades 3 and 4, but declined in 5. And then Congress Middle School improved in 6 and 8 in algebra, and Boynton Beach High School improved in both algebra and geometry. Science has seen a little bit of a decline across the board. This has been a struggle. We always prioritize reading, and science doesn't get as much attention. But we are doing a lot more around science right now, so we are focusing on the Cox Science Center has taken on our STEM Council. We're very proud of that. We think that that is going to invigorate it more. We're working towards more field trips and more personalized programming for our students to really give them that access, which I think is so very important. And the other thing that was really impacted during the pandemic was suspensions. Both our in-school suspensions and our out-of-school suspensions were impacted when the students weren't in the building for a very long time. That became very difficult for them. They weren't interacting with teachers, and that made them, you know, the discipline rates went up when they did come back in. So I'm pleased to tell you that our in-school suspensions have just decreased across most Boynton schools, and our out-of-school suspensions decreased across several elementary schools and Congress Middle School. The one thing that we've done towards working towards equity in our community is to make sure that every student has an opportunity for advanced coursework. This is something that we have focused on a lot in this past year. And what that means is that at the elementary level, before they send their kids on to 6th grade, the teachers actually have an opportunity along with the principal to recommend a student for advanced placement. And that means that they're looking beyond just their scores. So they have the opportunity to go on. So we have been disaggregating that across Black, Hispanic, and white to make sure that we are improving, constantly moving children into advanced coursework, and then basically giving them the opportunity to rise to that challenge. And by and large, they are, which is what's so amazing. So we really are seeing kids surprise us. Lastly, as I'm out of time, I will talk very quickly about mental health impacts during the pandemic. And before that, with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, we put a lot of extra funds from the taxpayers into working on mental health in our community. We put in 170 school behavioral health professionals. The number of students who have received services just this year in Palm Beach County, 14,883. The number of interventions provided to those students, 111,000. We have a co-located professional, so organizations outside the school that come in to give service to our students. The number of individual counseling sessions just this year provided 16,000, and the number of students receiving individual counseling services are 1,800 students. So you can see the efforts of that funding have really gone into our schools, and it's actually making a huge impact. So with that, I will stop and let Mr. Ferguson take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Whitfield. Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, I am Edwin Ferguson, your newly appointed District 7 rep. And before I get started, I want to take a moment, Mayor, to thank the city of Boynton. This city was one of the cities that came out in the highest numbers and supported me. And I think it's fair. It's not an overstatement for me to say without Boynton, I wouldn't be here. So I'm really appreciative of this opportunity. And I promise you that I will do all I can to help enhance the public education system here in Boynton. With that, I want to thank you as an elected body for the grants that you have made available for the schools here in Boynton Beach. I think that's going to be very transformative. Every principal I visited all 34 of the schools in District 7 in the first 30 days. And when I was in Boynton, what they were saying to me, I thought I needed to have my hearing checked. Hey, you know, the city of Boynton is giving us about $100,000 in grant money. And I said, they're giving you how much? $100,000 each. Yes. I was going to get there. I was going to get there, and I believe your intent in doing that is going to come to fruition. You want to close the gap. This is going to happen. I've been speaking to staff actually today, and they were saying, hey, look, When that money comes here, we're going to make sure that we have a plan in place before the money comes here. We're not going to try to figure things out once the grant is there. So rest assured, staff appreciates what you all are doing. That taxpayer money is meant to be spent judiciously, and staff has represented to me that it will be done that way. So again, I want to thank you for that. Now, I only have 4 schools in Boynton. They're Forest Park. Ms. Robinson is the principal there. Galaxy Elementary, Ms. Brumfield is the principal there. Poinciana, Mrs. McDowell is the principal there. And we also have Rolling Green, which Ms. Manning is the principal at. So as Ms. Whitfield said, across the district, I've noticed that the science scores from 2021 to 2022 were pretty stagnant. I don't know why. I'll speak with staff to get a better understanding as to why that is the case and see what we can do proactively to help kind of kickstart our students in a better direction. But I do want to give you some highlights because the students here in Boynton have done a lot of good things 2021 into 2022. So in English, ELA, English Language Arts, the 4th grade class at Rolling Grove saw a 19% bump in terms of their proficiency on the FSA exam. I think that's very much noteworthy. In terms of 4th grade at Forest Park, they saw a 15% bump. Anytime I see double digits for a positive, I'm saying good job. Let's see what we can do to enhance that moving forward. Poinciana, there was a 5% bump in the 3rd grade performance in terms of English Language Arts, ELA, an 18% jump in 4th grade, and then 5th grade, although they did not see a jump, I want you all to know that Poinciana Elementary is your highest performing school in terms of number of students who are proficient in English. So they were at about 56%. So they're still in a good space. Obviously, we want to see them increase on that, but they're doing really well. So I want to applaud Mrs. McDowell for the efforts that she and her staff are doing at that school. Now, in turning to math, Forest Park saw a 17% jump from year 2021 to 2022 in regard to the 4th grade math proficiency. Again, this is huge. This is major. That $100,000 is probably going to help that number continue in that direction. So again, I applaud you all. Galaxy saw a 10% jump in 3rd grade performance and saw a 22% jump in 4th grade. So again, if Ms. Brumfield, if you see this, the board applauds you, I applaud you, and of course the city of Boynton applauds you for what you and your staff are doing. Keep up the good work. As far as Poinciana, once again, we see a lot of gains, 19% in the 3rd grade, 24% in 4th grade. And again, there wasn't a gain in 5th grade, but again, across all 4 schools, they have the highest proficiency in terms of math. So again, Ms. McDowell and Mrs. McDowell, and her team at Poinciana are doing a very good job for you and the citizens of Boynton. 26% gain in 4th grade at Rolling Green, as far as that goes. Now, while Boynton High School is not one of my schools, the great majority of those students actually live here in District 7, so I feel I have an affinity for them. And also their colors are purple and gold, and I have a huge affinity for purple and gold for those who know where I'm going with that. So go Tigers, go Tigers in that regard. Really quickly, I want you to know that I'm speaking to things that I've already spoken about because otherwise there might be a potential sunshine issue. In past meetings, I spoke to the board and the superintendents about the importance of enhancing our security measures. I think I said this, that we've done a good job, but at the time I spoke to the point that I think it's important that we always look to enhance our safety measures at our schools because our children are our most important treasure. And with that, I'll stop talking. But again, I really want to thank you all for stepping forward and putting such a large investment into public education. I know Wellington has traditionally been the winner of the trophy, 30 to 40,000 a year, but you've really raised the bar now. And I'm calling on all the other municipalities to find monies to help support their public education by way of their schools. So thank you all for what you've done.
We'd love to have you come to be recognized formally at the school board meeting when that goes through. I think it was just such a wonderful thing, and we'd like to thank you for it. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you so much to both of you. We do have some questions. I know I certainly do. Let's open the floor now to questions and comments by my colleagues. Who would like to begin? Let's go around the dais. Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you for coming, both of you. When Dr. Licata was here, one of the things that we had spoken about was the making sure, ensuring that the children still have access to the internet, and that's not, that hasn't, because it was one thing during COVID, everyone rallied, the city rallied, and all the other areas rallied around the students to make sure that they had access to the internet. They were putting buses with, hotspots in certain areas. What is the status of, or I don't know if you know this off the top of your head or right now to answer it, but what is the status of ensuring that students have internet access. I know everyone has a computer now, which is fantastic, but a computer is only a paperweight if you don't have access to use it.
That is so true. Thank you so much for that question. I did actually bring this as an update, but such a short amount of time, I didn't want to push it in there. But thank you first to City of Boynton, because y'all gave a bunch of money to support this initiative to the county, $75,000. So we really appreciate that. You guys are just continually giving to your schools, and I hope that you love the product that you're going to get back from all this. So first of all, we're going to be we're working on the poles have been installed. The fiber construction is currently in permitting, so you are in the process of having this happen. The goal, as you know, when this happens, is that any student in the district will get a transponder receiver that they can take home with their computer, and they'll be able to hook into this network that will be within most of the urban areas of Boynton Beach. The Wi-Fi will initially cover 2,700 students, which are the most low-income students within the community. And then if a student is having a difficult time getting on the internet and that isn't working for them, we always have hotspots, and we still are giving those out. Mr. Ferguson, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
So you covered it for sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the question. So hopefully very soon I can tell you it's active.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Let's go to Commissioner Turkin.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the report. Edwin, I want to sit down with you about Forest Park.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything right now, but I'd love to get with you if I can get your phone number before you leave.
Sure.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Cruz.
Thank you both for the updates. No questions.
All right. And Commissioner Hay.
I'd just like to ask, what do you see as the big challenge looking down the road that we can address or help or?
I think I get in trouble speaking to that because this is not a duly noticed meeting for us as board members, but I would say, look at my Facebook posts and things of that nature. And I think I'm pretty direct and pretty clear on what I think when I was campaigning, what I think needs to be done in this first year to 4. And I think if you look at that, you'll see what my answer would be right now if I was permitted to give you the answer. But thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is we have advertised this meeting, so it's okay. We can talk. But I do think that the biggest thing that's weighs on me is Boynton Beach High School. We've gone through a zoning process right now that has been frustrating, and I've mentioned this from the dais, to watch many members of the community not want to go to Boynton Beach High School, which I know we have an amazing principal who is just knocking it out of the park with the work that he's doing there. I got an opportunity to bring Vice Mayor Cruz, and we walked around and she got to meet him and see what was going on there. So I think that some more work needs to be done to really make Boynton Beach stand out as the shining star that it once was known for in the community. And I'm ready to do that work. I've told the principal, bring me any of your exciting ideas. I'm really ready for that. So if you all have any suggestions, I'm always open to that as well.
I think just as a comment to both of you, both Ponciano and Boynton Beach High School have unique programs that are different than most high school around here. I know no other school on the east side of the Mississippi that has a planetarium, if I say that right, like Ponciano. I say the same thing about the aerospace program at Boynton Beach High Community College. I think we need to market what we have a little bit more. I don't think enough people, because when I ask people about those, they say, what are you talking about? So I'm sure we're not doing enough marketing of what we have to address and invite and encourage and entice kids to come to those schools.
I agree with you.
Comment?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
First of all, I agree with that. And I said the exact same thing when Board Member Whitfield and I were in front of Delray a few hours ago. This district must be competitive and compete for the student seats. We know what bills are coming down the pipe, most likely from Tallahassee. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to have anybody in your school. So you're going to have to show and prove to the families and to the students why they should be at, say, a Boynton High School or Poinciana Elementary. So we're in agreement. But since the meeting was duly noticed, which I'm going to speak with staff because I did not realize that, and I'm an attorney, so I'm always trying to stay on the right side of the law. The most important thing to me, and anybody who really appreciates education, is early education, proper preparation, because children who start behind generally stay behind. Conversely, those who start ahead, they stay ahead. We have to do a better job as a district with all due respect, City of Boynton, we need more help for you to make sure that a greater number of our children are kindergarten ready, because if they are, the district has a track record of showing you that they're really effective with moving those children along. Now, if you look at, say, Boynton District 7 or District 7 in general, there are a lot of children who are in the lower socioeconomic classes, and a lot of those children have not been afforded the proper resources that they need to be ahead of the curve. And so they spend their entire educational career trying to catch up. And it's almost like you're just chasing your tail, or a little mouse on the wheel. You never really get beyond the current point. And I would that it not be that way. So in these next 4 years, I'm deadly committed to that, making sure that we close that gap. And so again, when I heard that you all were kind enough to set aside taxpayer money for that specific thing, if I had a hat on my head, I would take it off. But I really appreciate what you all have done. And again, I hope that it helps set a trend throughout the district, the county that is, for our city municipalities to really collaborate with the district to help us get this thing right, because there is a competition now. And I think that you all are early adopters of that. And again, I hope that it helps encourage other municipalities to step out as well, because we have the money. We just need to kind of move it around. The city manager and the city attorney and whoever else are the persons holding the purse strings. We have the money. So again, I salute you all for being so bold in your actions and decisive in your actions. We need more of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ferguson, that is the perfect segue to my question. And I know, it's already 7 o'clock, so I'll leave it to one question. One of the things that I discovered as I met with all the schools and their principals, there is first of all, it's no secret that we have a lot of low income families in our city. That's not a secret. But one of the things I discovered as I met with these school leaders is the surprising number of homeless children. And sometimes it may not appear to you as, homeless, because they're not necessarily, at the street corner, but perhaps they're housing insecure, perhaps they're living in their car. What is the school district doing in terms of homeless children? What kind of support are they receiving in terms of housing, in terms of food, in terms of academic support? Because, listen, it's hard enough as it is through the virtual learning, through the pandemic and everything that came with it. But if you don't even have stable housing, good luck. Good luck. So what is the school district doing in that area?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a kind of a passion area of mine as well, so I'll take it first. Just I have so much background knowledge on this. We do have just an unacceptable number of students who are housing insecure. If you look at the HHA definition, the housing national housing definition, it's slightly different than what we call our McKinney-Vento kids. Our McKinney-Vento kids are really, if anybody has a worry that they're not going to be housed or that their housing is not something that they can count on next week or next month, we count them as homeless. So that might be living on grandma's couch, and grandma may not be able to make the rent, or you may be kicked out of the friend's house that you're staying at. All those children count. We have recently hired a new manager that oversees our homeless liaisons. So we have a person who does the compliance, our homeless liaison person. Under that, we have 8 case managers. We also have this new manager position, which was paid for through our ESSER dollars, same as the ARP dollars. Those dollars were meant to come into the school system to improve the ramifications that came with the pandemic. And as we know that post-pandemic people and during the pandemic, people were losing their housing, and it's getting very, very difficult to live here in Palm Beach County. So we use those dollars, we actually put it to creating this position, something that I asked for pretty fervently. So this person is actually working to find additional resources. We don't actually house people with the school district, but we have the ability to contact all the groups. So we've actually created a work group within the school system where we bring in all the organizations that can support homeless students in Palm Beach County. They meet once a month to discuss the needs of the school system and the resources that are available. And we use this opportunity to hopefully place those children in the best resources possible. Palm Beach County has a lot of questions around emergency housing. That's something that I recommend Boynton participate in those groups if you aren't already. I'm sure you are. But the emergency housing in this community, it's It's sometimes a motel where they're getting a hotel room. There's a few, places that you can get into, but sometimes it takes 30 days or 60 days. So when somebody calls and says that they're having a problem, they may not be able to get help right away. And just in the fall, this is a little bit old data, but it goes to speak to how scary it is to me. I was having a conversation with one of our principals in Riviera Beach, and she said she had 11 students living in the park across the street from her school. And that was just every day they would go to school from the park and go back. And nobody knew that they were there except for the people within the school. So the problem is very real. The other data I'll share with you, we usually have about 4,500 kids counted every year. At children living on the street or in a car, it's usually around 250 in Palm Beach County.
Wow.
Wow. So we have a housing workshop that's going to take place next month. So we'll be sure to keep you all abreast of that. I know part of it is to discuss the possibility of leasing land for development of affordable workforce housing. But as a former member of the planning committee, I mean, what does that really mean for the average Joe here in Palm Beach County? But I recall the superintendent also mentioning that there would be a space to discuss this issue that the mayor that you just raised. And before I sit down, I'd be remiss if I don't congratulate Ms. Nancy Robinson. Again, she's the principal at Forest Park. She's been a district employee for roughly 30 years, and she's retiring this year after roughly 10 years at Forest Park. So, Ms. Robinson, job well done. We need more like you, and I appreciate her service. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. School board members, Erica Whitfield and Edwin Ferguson, thank you for your time and answering our questions. Thank you. All right, just to give everybody a heads up, we're going to have one proclamation followed by a series of brief announcements. Then we'll proceed to public comment. All right. So the next item is a proclamation for February 11th through 17, 2023 as 211 Awareness Week. Donald Earl, 211's Director of Operations, will be accepting the proclamation. Thank you, sir. Let me read the proclamation into the record. Whereas 211 Helpline and Crisis Line continues to be that beacon of hope, providing life-saving crisis support and guidance when people are overwhelmed and don't know where to turn to. And whereas during these challenging times that include pandemic impact and economic instability and recent hurricanes, 211's caring and highly trained staff have been the frontline responders 24/7 through it all. And whereas the people of all ages and walks of life are reaching out for their growing struggles with mental health and emotional health, addiction, housing, health, and other concerns, 211 staff listen to each and every person to provide available resource options to help them strategize and problem solve. And whereas 211 also has specialized advocacy and support programs for the community that include caregiver support, much needed, Help Me Grow, and 211 life-saving Sunshine Daily phone calls, which continue to brighten the lives of isolated seniors and caregivers. And whereas 211 also responds to the 988 Lifeline number and support line that includes first responders and My Florida Vet for veterans with peer-to-peer support, providing assistance to these specialized groups and their families. Now, therefore, I, Ty Pensurga, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, hereby proclaim February 2023 as 211 Awareness Month. So would you like to meet me downstairs, Mr. Earl? Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor. I appreciate you and the staff. Thank you so much for this recognition and for your ongoing support. As mentioned in the proclamation, 211 is the only helpline and crisis helpline serving the region 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Last year, we responded to over 125,000 requests for help. Of those, 4,000 of those identified themselves as Boynton Beach residents. Calls ranging from everything from a mom who's worried about her child being teased in school or worried about their development, someone worried about a friend who's fighting addiction, or someone worried about how to pay their light bill. or even someone thinking about ending their own life. Our team also answers the National Lifeline, as mentioned, was recently changed to 988 nationwide. Of those sharing their location, most do not. 69 identified Boynton Beach as their home. So that's 6 people on average every month in Boynton Beach contacting us for life-saving measures. Since 988 launched last July, we've seen a local volume of increase by over 60% of our local callers. Anyone facing any of these struggles can get a caring voice and concrete help by dialing 211. In short, our team is helping many people every hour of every day. In order to accommodate all of this, we have been expanding and are looking to garner support to build a new facility for our headquarters. Thank you again for helping us to ensure that everyone knows we're here for them when they need us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a series of announcements. I'll try to be as expeditious as possible. The first announcement is that we are having our last oceanfront bark of the 2022-2023 season. This event is being held on Saturday, February 18th, 2023, from 9 to 12 p.m., from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Oceanfront Park, located at 6415 North Ocean Boulevard. This is a free event for all well-behaved licensed dogs and their owners to potty on the beach. Dogs will be allowed off-leash in a designated fenced area. Parking is free during Oceanfront Bark for all beach patrons from, again, 9 a.m. To 12 p.m., and that is next Saturday. The next announcement is that the 2023 Joe DiMaggio Children's Health Specialty Center Magic Wheels and Special Deals Inclusion Resource Fair is Friday, February 10th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, this is the resource fair from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Boynton Beach Arts and Cultural Center, located, of course, right across from City Hall, 125 East Ocean Avenue. This is another free event for the entire family with inclusion resource information, vendors, music, performances, and the Magic Wheels unveiling. This year's recipient is 11-year-old Giovanni, and the theme of the Magic Wheel will be unveiled at the event. If you've never been, I highly encourage you to do so. Now, the day after, on Saturday, February 11th, at 7:30 a.m., the Greater Boynton Beach Foundation will host the 11th annual barrier-free 5K at Barrier Free Park, located at 311 South Congress Avenue. For more information, please visit barrierfree5k.pbrace.com. Again, that's barrierfree5k.pbrace.com. We'll also be putting that on our city website. Our final announcement is that, and this is something I'm a huge fan of, the Gold Coast Band's Music Making America concert. If you've never seen one of their performances, highly encourage you to do so. Will be at First Baptist Church, located at 301 North Seacrest Boulevard on Sunday, February 19th at 3 p.m. The admission is $10 for adults and free for children 12 and under. Let me just say they are a gem in our city. Make sure to check them out. Tickets are available to purchase online at goldcoastband.org or at the door on the day of the concert. So that concludes announcements. Now, before anyone approaches the podium for public audience, I want to say a couple of things just to make sure we're all on the same page. As always, each speaker has 3 minutes. Comments must be addressed to the commission as a whole and not to any individual in the dais or in the audience. Personal attacks and insults are strictly prohibited. This is a time for you to be heard and for your opinions and voices to be considered in our decision-making process. However, this is not a Q&A. We can have a town hall separately if that's what's required. But if you do have a question, please leave your contact information with our staff so we can return back to you with your answer. After all the in-person comments have concluded, that will be the end of all online hands that will be accepted. I have one final item to add. Now, I think a handful of you are here. I'm not entirely sure who and how many, but if you are here to speak on the 3 code amendments, which are later in this evening's agenda, please note that is a first reading. That is when the commission sees it for the first time in this setting. There are no public comments then, not until the second reading. However, I want to encourage you that if you did come to speak on that, use this time during this public audience to go ahead and speak on that. You will have more opportunities in the future for the second reading, so that is another option. Okay, so let's begin. As always, please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes. State your name for the record. And I see Ms. Oyer whenever you are ready. Please don't block the timer for those in the back. All right, begin when you're ready.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you, Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I hope you got your packet.
1 second, Ms. Oyer. Was the microphone on, Andrew? I couldn't.
Oh, brighter green light. Sorry about that. Thank you, Andrew. Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. Mayor, I hope you got the packet that I left for you at the last commission meeting when I brought up the white roof project. Did they give that to you? They're shaking their heads. They gave it to
last
you.
Commission meeting.
Yeah, so I left a copy for you. Hopefully you got it and have had a chance to look through it. I look forward to hearing from all of you at some point in time about us moving forward on the white roof project. The entire country of India is doing it. The city of New York is doing it. And not that we should ever compare ourselves to them in any way, shape, or form, because we're better. That's why they move here. But, and we all know that to be true. But we should be looking at that going forward. I mean, it's something that we all had here in the South back when I was a kid, and we didn't need air conditioning because we all had white roofs. And it's something we should be looking forward and moving forward with, because, you know, we are the most sustainable city in the state of Florida. So let's act like the leaders we are. My next thing that I'm bringing up, yay, this is going to be the bane of Andrew's existence. This is what's in a street name. I've been trying to get the street names changed in my neighborhood for the whole 10 years plus that I've been living there. I went door to door, got proposed ideas for street names, mapped it out, 3 different choices, talked to people, and I sat it on Jeff Livergood's desk. It went nowhere. Then it moved to Colin's desk, and Colin's like, Susan, buddy pal, no problem, we'll take care of it. And then Town Square hit. And then, you know, it got dumped on Andrew's desk, I believe. So he's kind of shaking his head like, oh no, I'm going to pretend like I've never seen or heard of this coming out of your mouth, Susan. But we really need to look at this. My neighborhood alone, there are 4 27ths. There is Avenue, Court, Place, and Way. It is a first responder's nightmare. And I'm sure our city manager can, you know, attest to that, because you're speeding up, slowing down, trying to get to whatever house on whatever street. And you're constantly, I mean, mail goes the wrong place. You have family or friends over for a party. They're at the wrong house, knocking on the wrong door. You know, there's 2 28s. There's a 28th court with 1 house on it. You know, it's just insane. And this is yet another reason why we should be changing the street names in my neighborhood, if not all the neighborhoods. And not only has it been proven to increase property values by 30%, so realtors like me appreciate that, but it lowers crime and it beautifies the city. And this also ties in with our historic preservation board that for years now, when I sat on the board, 10 years ago, we were trying to get the original street names back on our downtown streets. It really makes a tremendous difference. This is low hanging fruit. Let's start working on this. And sorry, Andrew. Have a great one. Please reach out with any questions.
Thank you. Next speaker, will go back and forth between the 2 podiums.
My name is Karen Ho. 1305 Via de Pepe, Boynton Beach, Florida 33426. I own many properties in Palm Beach County. I pay over $65,000 in real estate tax. So now the problem here is my house, my commercial building was stolen from me by saying City of Boynton Beach is a title fraud. So I type it up and I will give it to you to pass it out. I passed out last time. So I would like to read from the transcript. Your Honor, we understand that what the city did, they put the cart before the horse. The proper procedure for us to come before you to get the motion for writs of possession. Like I say, city staff mistakenly understood that having a title meant they could go on. The first information that I received by reading a pleading of the defendants in the federal action. I confirmed it with the client and then we filed the motion. And they changed the locks. City of Boynton Beach changed the locks. Property has to be secure. The appeal is pending and that's why we are here before you today. And then I spoke. Ms. Ho, Karen Ho, what is the case is pending in federal court for eminent domain? That is it, City of Boynton Beach taking my property without paying me a dime. Okay, and by filing fraudulent liens on the property, I did not mow the lawn. I mowed the lawn because I hired people to help me mow City of Boynton Beach lawn. The property doesn't have lawn. The building is not safe. I pay $10,000 for professional engineer, professional architect, assess the building, and the building is safe. So there is no merit for the foreclosure lawsuit. The lien wasn't served to me of prior owner, but it was foreclosed without my presence. And the lien even had my name on it. I wasn't even on the deed before. So I hope that for consideration, respectfully, that the commissioners, mayor, and city manager look into this case, please, because I came here so many times. And this is property title fraud, and we had to take care of it. Attorney cannot just go to the court, file lawsuit, and expect to win a free house, free real estate property.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank
And
you.
have a good night.
Good night.
Thank
Next speaker, please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Harry Woodworth. I live at Northeast 15th Place in Boynton Beach. Wanted to do two things tonight. When I went to the B&D meeting last night, I have to tell you, I go to a lot of meetings around Boynton over the years, decades. That is one of the most professional meetings that you all have. Those people are fact-based. Nobody's trying to sell anything most of the time. It's just a lot of fact-based information and ideas changing, and the meeting is just professionally run. It's like something you'd see in the corporate world. That said, there was a presentation. There were a lot of presentations. I wanted to go and get updated on all the big projects coming, and particularly Pierce, and that went well. And then the town square thing. Went to a lot of meetings in 17 and 18 when they were pitching town square, and those meetings had a common theme. The town square was the last hope that Boynton had to get their act together to have a downtown. This was going to be the main event. This was going to be, I think, the term downtown family room, with connectivity to the adjacent streets and communities, a place where the citizens could come and, interact and dine and drink and do whatever the heck you wanted to do. A downtown, I guess, but a family room was the word that was used over and over in those presentations. And what I saw, again, was a very professional presentation. I realize we're trying to solve a legal problem, but we're also trying to do what we originally started to do, which was, this is the last chance you got to make downtown happen. Pierce is part of it, but this town thing is a big deal. What I saw was a very professional presentation by a developer that's obviously got their act together. There's no question about that. I don't have any rocks to throw at it. But it's a giant housing project. 933 additional apartments? Is that a compelling reason to get off the interstate and come to Boynton Beach? Because if it is, and this is our last chance to get it right, that wasn't what we sold 5 years ago. That wasn't what this town listened to. That wasn't what this town coughed up $100 million for. That wasn't what we gave away 16 acres of land for. And I don't want to throw any rocks at anybody, but this is the last chance, folks. And if we're trying to solve a legal problem, that's great. But let's go back to what the original basis for Town Square was. And I'm not knocking a developer. That was professional. That was first class. And it is obviously a first class project. But it's just a giant apartment house, folks. 2 buildings that are basically identical with almost 500 residents each. Almost no commercial space at all. In a hypothetical hotel that may or may not. We've been talking about hotels in this town since I moved here 30 some years ago. Last chance, folks. Let's think about what we're doing here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. State your name for the record.
Yes. Marcia Levine. Do you need my address?
No.
Okay. Marcia Levine. Good evening, Mayor Pransurga, Vice Mayor Cruz, city commissioners, city manager, assistant city managers, everybody here doing service to make this meeting run smooth. And I'd also like to take a little bit of time to thank everybody who comes to these meetings from the city of Boynton Beach. Your presence, your voice, your opinions, and your input make our city the great city that it is. No matter what your opinions are, I really appreciate everybody who shows up. I'm here tonight on behalf of one of the advisory boards that I'm really proud to sit on, and that's the Senior Advisory Board. And I'm here tonight with our chair, Sandra Watson, and I'm here with one of our board members, Ann Swiner. We are under the auspices of the Parks and Rec Department, and our mission is simple. We aim to make the lives of seniors better in the city of Boynton Beach. Our advisory board meets once a month on Mondays at 2 p.m., the first Monday. And we currently have open positions on our board, and we welcome anyone to join who fills out the application and who qualifies. That's anybody who's sitting here. That's anybody, if you know anybody, feel free to come and ask me how to do that. I am always an advocate for telling people how to join our boards. We are a small but mighty board, and I personally joined last year, and I'm proud to say that in a relatively short time, we have achieved some significant accomplishments. I'm only here to talk about one of them tonight, and one of them that I'm here to tell you about is our senior resource list. Last year, I spearheaded a project with the aid of our board members to collect and archive resources that address the needs of seniors. This information is out there, but it was never collectively in one place. And in my last minute, I'm going to say that once I had the preliminary information, Eleanor Crusell and predominantly Laura Landsberg, who did the actual data input, got us help, and we are now on boynton-beach.org. Simple keywords: senior, seniors, resource. We're also on the senior center's website. We're on the library's website. And what I'm really happy to say is that we're accessible in multiple languages. We're ADA compatible. We are an evergreen list. If anybody has new organizations, we're working with 501c3s now, trying to not be totally for-profit, non-for-profit. Please feel free to reach out to me. Come to our board meeting, introduce yourselves. We want to hear about your organization so we can add to our list. And please take a look at our list. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much. And just
much.
one quick thing, we're endeavoring to put it into a pamphlet form with the help of Parks and Rec. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your hard work. Next speaker, please approach the podium. State your name for the record. I'm sorry, was there a follow-up?
Go ahead.
All right, we'll take turns. All right. No, sir, you're already here. Let's keep going.
Hey, before you start that time, I like to.
Sir, I have to start it as soon as you start speaking. Please begin with your name.
I like to state an explanation who I am. Before
Just say your name.
My name is Thomas Jerry Thiebaud, but I go by Nature. Most know me as Nature, Nature. But I am the owner of the plantation. I arrived on March 20th, 2020 at 247, virus mutation, earthwide. And Jesus took a seat to the right of me in 1991, gave me ownership. These are proposals of this explanation of my ownership. But these are proposals that I would like to be able to have help getting these into presentable standards so that you all would be able to accept these proposals. I am on a path, what we all should be on, to make paradise a true reality and bring mankind in perfect harmony with a system of life that proves itself to be absolutely perfect. We got a system of life on this planet that is undeniably perfect, directly from God's own hand. You don't have to believe in that. You know that system of life attributes should prove its perfection. And we're not doing everything we can to be in harmony with that system. And you start saying, I'm crazy? That's pretty crazy. You know, right there at your fingertip, a perfect way of existence. And we're not doing everything you can to be in harmony with that system, promote that system, understand and promote that system on the highest level. I can't imagine what would be crazier. But I've got proposals and designs of how to make that happen for all mankind. And they could choose what proposal they want to, what way they want to critique their life to connect with that system. They got to start, you got to start that ladder, some step on that ladder. You got to put that step on that ladder, some step to be able to form that ladder, you know, and I know how to do that. So I'm just not getting any help. And one person gives me inspiration at one moment, and then they don't come back and keep on giving me inspiration, and everybody else tears it apart, you know. And Jesus said, when the owner of the plantation comes home, nobody survives. All the workers are killed. All the workers. Mankind are the workers. The earth is the plantation. The earth and the life system is the plantation. Mankind is expendable. The life system is not. I don't want to think about that. Thanks.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, Commissioners. I'm Sandra Watson. I'm the Chair of the Senior Advisory Board, and I just wanted to just bring to you again the collaboration that the Senior Advisory Board has with the Delray Art Garage. On Wednesday, they sent us a notice where we can give tickets out to seniors for free, and they can come to some of their events, usually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If they're not sold out, they send us the tickets. So what I did was I brought you guys a brochure of some of the things that comes up. And what you have to do is you have to email me so that I can send you send them your email, and they'll email you the e-ticket. Right. And I just wanted to just mention again, it's nice that the Delray Art Garage is collaborating with us, but it would be even nicer if Boynton Beach had something of our own that we could have an events like this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Please give it to Mr. Mack. All right, thank you. All right, next speaker on the other side. How are you? Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Buck Buchanan, 807 Ocean Inlet Drive, where I've lived for a little over 35 years. When I first moved to Boynton Beach, it was pretty rough, pretty run down, but it was like a blank slate. It was a tremendous opportunity to make it a unique and kind of fabulous place on a small scale. And over the years, it's improved in some ways, and others it hasn't, because it lost that opportunity to be that unique place. And while it's improved in a lot of ways, like I say, it can no longer be unique, but it's still a livable city. And we can at least protect that, need to protect that. Now, I know there have been a lot of bad decisions made by prior city commissions that you're stuck with and you have to live by. But I'm asking you now to not make those decisions worse. The minimum, stay with what can be done, maybe mitigate them in some ways or whatever. We don't need, first of all, I'm sure all of you know that residences cost the city money. Business and commercial makes money for the city. And so we need to minimize residential. And if we do have residential, it needs to be ownership residential, not rental residential. We need people who are invested in the city and will contribute to it. To overload the downtown with tremendous growth, tremendous increase over what has been proposed before, will just make this a non-livable city. It's at least the downtown part of it. Even now, with when you get into rush hour, close to rush hour and all that, it's very difficult to get around. I cannot imagine having 1,000 new apartments. People that are renting aren't invested in the city. and clogging up everything. So please, let's do what we can to stick with what you're stuck with, not increase it, and mitigate it in any way you can. There may be some things that can be done to actually improve it a little bit from where it was. But thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll now go to the other side, the other podium. Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Layla Dixon. I just want to say good evening to the mayor, the vice mayor, city commissioners. I am Layla Dixon, and I am here on behalf of Troop 24514, and we are here to ask for a donation for our troop. I have been a Girl Scout for about 6 years now. This is Zoe, Isabella, and Zion, and they're here to speak to you why we think we deserve a donation. So what does being a Girl Scout mean?
G. Being a go-getter means someone who's determined to be successful and deal with new or difficult situations easily. For example, standing in front of you today.
I. Being an innovator is creating new methods, ideas, or products, for example, by coming up with new methods to sell Girl Scout cookies.
R. Being a risk taker means taking new risks even if you're scared. For example, this year as a troop, we went to Camporee and had to sleep out at night with tents instead of cabins. L. Being a leader is a person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. For example, we help our younger Scout sisters in our troop at Girl Scout meetings.
So how will these funds help our troop?
These funds will help our troop by helping us go to the National Convention. The National Convention is a weekend-long workshop where Girl Scouts come from all around the world to gain inspirational tools to help empower ourselves to be leaders and promote change in our communities.
This also adds not just to our national impact for our troop, but an international exposure due to girl troops and guides throughout the world visiting also is right in our backyard, and it would be sad if our troop could not attend.
Last convention held in Florida was in 1975. That's longer than we've been alive. $300 plus per Girl Scout, and our troop has 25 girls with a balance equaling to $7,500. It would be an honor to represent Boynton Beach at the Girl Scout Convention as one of the most diverse and largest groups in South Florida. Another way the funds will help our troop is by helping us go to Savannah, Georgia. It is the birthplace of Girl Scouting, and we have 2 ambassador level Girl Scouts in our troop, and they would love to have the opportunity to visit the birthplace of the organization they have been contributing to for parts of their lives.
We would like to show our appreciation by using some of these requested funds to provide Girl Scout cookies to our local VA and troop overseas.
Any funds would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do have one small request for you.
Yeah.
I received your PowerPoint packet. I don't see an email or a phone number. Could you just leave that? Is it here? Did you guys say? All right. Could you please leave that with Miss Eleanor in the back?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next speaker on this side of the, absolutely, Vice Mayor.
You guys melted my heart. I love to see girls looking at leadership, looking at opportunities to be better. And I am so proud of all of you for what you're doing. Not only do I want to provide some of my community support funds to you guys, but I want to see if there's a way that maybe through, we'll talk about it, but there's a potential way to support you guys as well. So Eleanor, as you mentioned, Mayor, if we get their contact info, but keep doing what you're doing. We'll do what we can to support you. And we're so proud of you and we're so happy to see you here.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's proceed to the next speaker.
It's a hard act to follow. My name is Steve Holbridge. I live at Northeast 15th Place in Boynton Beach. Been there a long time. My concern, Harry mentioned it a little bit, or not Harry, Buck mentioned it. See a lot of new buildings coming up, a lot of density, a lot of height and everything, but a lot of apartments. And I know when we first built the 2 towers, those were selling as condos. And And that was kind of the vision back then, was because that was what was happening. Rentals have taken over the market, I understand. Nothing against renters. I've been a renter. When I was a renter, I never read the local section of the newspaper. I read it cover to cover, but I skipped the local section because I didn't have any skin in the game. When I became an owner, I showed up at commission meetings, got involved, worked harder, raised a family, etc. The only cities I see that are similar, like Boca has height and density, West Palm does. I'd be curious how many of those people there are owners versus what the ratio is. Are we aware of that? Does the city have any stats on that? Because I feel like we're moving to a direction that we might have a lot of people that were just as transient as I was back when I rented. And I think we need people that want to make this more of a community, a permanent place. And I don't know how much control you all have over that, but to the point that you can encourage the ownership in some of these buildings, it would be very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to proceed to the other side of the chamber. Please begin when you're ready.
Cindy Falco di Corrado. I'm not mentioning names, but if you're going to make rules, I would like to see the board and people that come here abide by those rules. I was called a name last week and it wasn't addressed, and I find it very offensive. And as my leadership here sitting at the dais, I think that you should have corrected that person for calling me a name. Going past that, I have come up with a design that I think that we should put on the road. There's two of them here. Again, we have the LGBTQ sign, which I shared with you, which is a religion. This is a religious symbol. It's a Christian emblem that I want on the road. And who would I file this with to get it done? And how could I get the specs for it? I do have my email on here that somebody can send me how I could get that done, because it then falls under unequal rights. Because again, we have the LGBTQ month, which is in June, and I understand we celebrate that. We also have where the military, and I don't know if you know this, but they're not even allowed to raise their flag unless it's on the specific holiday. It has to be a removable flag. I did look up and inquire in regards to the permitting. There was no permit for that on the road. I know this was passed by the last commissioners. I have that here. I also have that they spent $9,225, and I also have the receipt bill that was also here from the paint department, which was $7,250. And I know we did pay for it one more time. If the residents don't know what you're paying to have this sign painted on the road, as well as you're paying for a video camera to protect this sign when we have people that are hungry, homeless, sitting in the street and not being cared for. As I stated, it is a religious emblem that's on the roadway, the LGBTQ sign, because anything that has any kind of preference of their thinking process or their religious actions, meaning whatever one's lifestyle is a religion, statement of their conscience. It is a worship, as the Supreme Court has made it clear that even government is a religious worship. So I'm just asking for equal time. I'm asking what is fair. I would like my religion respected as well, and I'd like to see that. And if you could, I will leave this with you so that you can send me the standards that I need to get so that I can get that done. Thank you very much. Oh, I did want to make a reference to last week as well. I did get a transcript, and like half the stuff is missing that was said. And I'm very disappointed to see that, because I was called a filthy name. It's not on here. And the transcripts don't read as what was spoken in this room. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker on the other side of the room. Begin when you're ready and state your name for the record.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask the gentleman in the back if some of you could just move over so I can see the timer. Thank you so much.
Don't worry, I'm not going to take that long.
Okay.
Neil Richardson, 140 Southeast 2nd Avenue. Good evening. I usually watch the meetings online. I used to go to the old town hall where it was, but so I've had that house since 04, 03, and I've been waiting and waiting patiently for Boynton to figure out how to develop this property. And I build buildings for a living. I watch stumbling, tripping over their own selves, promises, change of plans, change of developer, losing I don't even know what happened with the lawsuit. Sounds like to me what I understood through the meeting, the developer that took the property is going to get 3.4 million or more. They're going to sell it and they're going to make the money off of it. I'm not too sure. and I don't know where to find the information to find out what was going on. But the last meeting you asked, what is the opinions of people of Southeast 2nd Avenue? Disappointed, okay? And that's pretty much where I've been waiting. You know, develop it, figure it out. If I was a developer or building a building, we go fast. You can't wait around. Times have changed, interest rates are up. You know, everything changes fast in real estate. So the longer you wait, I think the more you can lose. So the time is running out, like the gentleman said, both gentlemen. Ownership leads to better treatment of the property, better development, better for taxes, property values go up, school system gets rewarded for it because you have more property taxes. And that's what I feel. So that's pretty much it. Disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, begin when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Reedy. I not only chair the city's Historic Resources Preservation Board, I'm also the first vice president and program chair of the Historical Society. And our program coming up on February 27th is regarding Florida's Underground Railroad. If anyone is interested in participating via Zoom to see that program, the email address to ask for an invite is bbhsprograms@gmail.com. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you all about is I'm a little bit concerned about the ordinances as it's going to intensify the density downtown in the corridor. As Harry said, many of us have participated in public charrettes where we were asked to give our input on what we would like to see in the downtown. And we were promised single story, one story on Ocean Avenue from the railroad tracks west, okay? And then it was supposed to be wedding caked back, because if you do 8 stories on Ocean Avenue, it's gonna be a wind tunnel, a concrete canyon, and that's not what the people want. You have a box of studies somewhere gathering dust where you've asked the people, not you personally, previous commissions, several previous commissions have asked the people, what do you want downtown? And intensifying the density is not it. We don't need more people living here. They need things to do. We need to create a destination. Other cities have a destination. Lake Worth has Antique Row. Atlantic Avenue has restaurants and window shopping. Apartments? Seriously? Who's going to come and visit us here to see apartments? We don't need to be the place to live for everyone in Palm Beach County, guys. You know, we don't. And we don't need to say yes to everything the developers come to town to ask us about. Single story on Ocean Avenue, please. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Of course. Good evening, Commission. My name is Mark Meyer. Reside
mic closer.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you. I reside at 633 Ocean Inlet Drive. I'm the current president of Inca. We represent just over 2,000 residents in the city with a couple hundred homes that are along the federal corridor along the east side. I'm here to discuss tonight or bring to your attention some of the issues that our community has with the changes in the land development regulations, with in particular to the reduced frontage, commercial frontage. We think it's inconsistent with the existing land uses, and it creates an environment where in an existing land use that is in a food, basically we're in a food desert in that District 2, District 3 line right there. And it's taking away walkability. It's taking away those things that many of the Boynton residents and And if you recall, there was a CRA survey that went out maybe 6 months ago. 500 residents, give or take, had participated in that. And they wanted to see restaurants, retail, and perhaps a grocery store. And I know that there's some works to try to get a grocery store in the area, which is desperately needed. And if this project were to be approved with 900 some odd units, in addition to the other projects that are in for development, that would be almost 3,000 units in addition in that along that corridor in Ocean that need grocery, that need services. It's going to weigh on the infrastructure. With relation to the workforce housing amendment, I believe that's 12A. They're proposing to increase the floor area ratio by 50%. That's pretty significant. I'm a land use planner by trade, and I come from a construction and finance background. So if any of you have questions or want to hear more of the Inca's concerns, my phone's been ringing off the hook lately. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'll forward my contact information to your city emails. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the next speaker, and I see there's two of you. Are both of you speaking separately or coming together?
I think we're attached at the hip at this point.
Okay. Because it's 3 minutes per person. I'm just, all right, begin when you're ready and state your name for the record.
I'll go first. My name's Bradley Miller. I work at Urban Design Studio, land planner, and here representing the Time Equities, who is the contract purchaser and proposed developer for Town Square. Here to really talk about the three items, the code amendments that are on the agenda later on in the agenda package. And from the commercial standpoint, it's been 24 hours since our meeting last night. And we've listened, we've heard, we've talked. Rob Singer, who will speak next, has already started talking to his architects about increasing the commercial space, going to the 70% of the commercial space that the code is already at. So we're here to put that on the record that we're committing to doing that through our plans. The other two amendments that are in the process, to clarify on the workforce housing, it's not a 50% increase. It's going from 62 units an acre to 62.5 units an acre. So it's not as great as what it's been made out to sound, and it actually ends up being a consistency thing with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan allows that half a point to get to that, and I think staff's doing a wonderful job of proposing this amendment through the incentive of workforce housing to get to that. And then the last one with the development agreement, I first became familiar with the development agreement process back when Seabourn Cove was developed many years ago, and it surprised me. It doesn't get used very often, but in this instance, when we've been working with it, that it's not in the code already, and to give you and staff some guidelines. So I think that's an overall good scenario. All of this is good for the entire city to make these changes. And again, back to the commercial, we're on board for the 70% of the frontage on Boynton Beach Boulevard.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm going to end your time now. I'm going to move on to the next speaker. Please begin when you're ready and state your name for the record.
I'm Robert Singer with Time Equities. One quick correction is the workforce housing allows you to go to 62 units per acre. We're proposing currently 58 units per acre. The issue is the FAR is not the density. So it's the FAR, which is in our zone, not to be too technical, but it's at 3, and the comprehensive plan allows it to go to 3.5 if the commission wants it to. And what staff figured out is that if you're going to give a density and a height bonus for workforce housing, you also should consistently give the floor area to build that. Otherwise, it's sort of pointless. So they looked at the comprehensive plan and found that it's consistent. So that's a technical point. But I mean, the bigger point is I spent a lot of time with Commissioner Turkin, Commissioner Cruz today. We hear you, and we want to deliver what the town wants. The apartments are, allowed by code, and we can have that discussion, but that's what the zoning is. But the commercial, Commissioner Cruz is correct. She has a vision for Boynton Beach Boulevard, and we have already directed the architects to come in and get to 70%. Commissioner Turkin wanted to go a step further today. He wanted to get more stores in the south on some of the streets that we front that are not Boynton Beach Boulevard. So we sat down with the plans, rolled up our sleeves, picked out some areas that we think make sense, and we're doing that. And what that's going to do is it's going to force us to reduce our residential on the ground floor. And we're going to reconcile some of the parking, and and I don't know exactly how many units, but we feel that it's been a good process. We loved working with staff. We want to be here. We want to deliver what the town wants, and we hear you. And we're looking forward to being the developer here. And I will say though, so you can vote no on the reduction from 70 to 40%. That's over. But the other two things, flexibility with respect to developer agreements and workforce housing, which are city policy issues. They're not specific to us. I mean, they relate to us, but they're policy issues. They're not variances or something that we're asking for. I highly recommend that you pass those, because they're important for this deal. And this deal is important for the city. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else in the audience for public comments? Otherwise, we'll go to online. I see one more person. After this person, we will do the online speakers.
Hi, Ernest George McNally, 710 Northeast 7th Street, condo 407, Boynton Beach, Florida, also known as Harbor Hall Inlet Club number 1. I bought in November 2020, and it's in District 2. And I think we're going to lose our building and the neighboring building because of all the violations and all the flooding, and the fact that no one in the city will come in and help us. We have fire hazards, flooding hazards, electrical hazards, elevator hazards, flammable hazards. They don't have HOA meetings. They don't do anything. And the city won't help us with anything. So, and no matter who you ask help for, when they come to court and the magistrate, the HOA comes in and says, oh, don't listen to Mr. McNally. Everything's fixed. Really? Nothing is. And what I don't understand is how this magistrate, with your code and your police and your fire, come into this court. I don't know, it's once a Wednesday, once a month, I think. And people are under oath. I mean, are we all clear what under oath means? When an HOA says everything's fixed, everything's safe, don't listen to that, Mr. McNally. He's a storyteller. Or like when your commissioners say, oh, 90% of what Mr. McNally said is it's in his imagination. Right? Mr. Turk, isn't that what you said to me? And then you said, and I said,
Sir,
what?
Do not
I'm not
address
allowed
anyone.
to talk to him?
Do not address anyone singly.
Oh, okay. So that's how the meetings go. I think we're going to lose both buildings. And the departments, the code, the community standards, the business and tax levy, the commission, the city attorneys, the clerks, what do you have, 12 city managers now? I forget it. City manager, deputy city, deputy city manager, city assistant deputy, deputy assistant deputy, and deputy assistant deputy. I lose track of all the names. So I also, with the time I have left, there's 2 cases here that I'm the victim, and this city, I'm going to say it, better do something right with this gun, what DeAndre Martin did to me in front of City Hall, and what your contract architect did to me, attacked me, and what this city is doing in the case. putting out stuff about me, city employees making public comments that I'm a terrorist, I'm a Taliban, I have guns, and I need to have a certain kind of sex with something on the fourth floor in order for me to get accepted here. And it was all said in
Thank you,
public
sir.
meeting.
Thank you for your time. No, you may not. We're moving on to online speakers. Mani, how many people do we have with their digital hands raised?
Mr. Mayor, I've taken a picture. We have 0 hands raised.
All right, so we have concluded public comments in the entirety, both in person and online. We're going to move on to the next section of the agenda, which is new business. And this item is 11A, consider the recommendation from the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board to rename the Boynton Beach Tennis Center to the...
What about?
I'm sorry, am I missing a page? 1 second. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for that catch. I was looking at the wrong page. All right. We're going to move on to administrative, which is appointing eligible members of the community to serve in vacant positions on city advisory boards. I was going to read off the list. Vice Mayor, did you want to start?
I would like to table this item if the commission is willing to. I had a couple of my constituents that applied to city boards that had glitches in the system who applied over 2 weeks ago, and for some reason their application is not in there. A couple of them are senior citizens who might need assistance with those applications. So I don't want to take away their opportunity, since they did apply over 2 weeks ago, to be able to have a fair chance at getting appointed. And that's the reason why I would like to table this item until next meeting.
For which board?
The entire.
No, I'm not okay with that. I think we waited for the P&D one already.
Okay.
But no, I'm not okay with that.
All right, so 1 second, we do have a motion before us. In order for us to move forward, I'm going to address each motion as they appear before us. The motion is to table from Vice Mayor Cruz. Is there a second to that motion? And again, just to be clear, Vice Mayor, could you just restate what it is that you're motioning? This
Yeah.
tabling?
Specifically, it's for the senior advisory board.
That I'm okay with. That I'm okay with. For a single one, I'm okay with.
It is
But
a good
to
thing we
table
asked.
everything I'm not okay with.
All right.
Yes, and I agree with that.
All right. So we have a motion. Sorry, go ahead.
Just waiting for a second. That's
all
fine.
right. So do we have a second to that motion? And specifically, it is to delay the appointment for the senior advisory board.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. That item is tabled. But we can go ahead and still with the appointments of the other advisory boards. Council, did you want to add anything? I thought I saw your hand. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. And our first item here is the Art Advisory Board. Vice Mayor Cruz, it is your appointment. We have one applicant. His name is Gregory Hartman. It says here that he's currently an alternate member on the board seeking appointment to regular member. Would you like to make a motion?
I will not be making an appointment today.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the next category, which is Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals. We have no applicant for that, so please know that there is an opening. Education and Youth Advisory Board, we have no applicants for that as well. Historic Resources and Preservation Board, an opening is available, no applicants currently. Library Board, we have another opening there. Now moving on to Planning and Development Board, this appointment goes to Commissioner Turkin for a position of an alternate for a one-year term. Commissioner Turkin, we have two applicants, Vanessa Belmonte and William Sinar, if I'm pronouncing, did I pronounce that correctly? Commissioner, would you like to make a nomination?
Yes. One question before I move forward. I don't think we should be delaying, appointing people because of anything to do politically. So I want to get that out there. Second thing I want to bring up is last night at the P&D meeting, there was a notice that someone had resigned and that there's an additional vacant position as an alternate for the P&D meeting. So would it be possible to fill both these seats with both these applicants, or do we need to identify who's up for that next
If we can confirm that the position is open, then yes, you may.
You
add that.
were there yesterday when they announced it.
Yes, I just don't know if that's the existing one on this agenda or. But
Sure.
if we can confirm that there's two
Can
open
we hear
spaces. then-
from the city clerk? The city clerk is the one who usually keeps records of all of these appointments.
I don't have the record of an additional seat being appointed. There's a process. If somebody does, get off of the board, they have to actually let us know. So I'm not sure if we were informed yet or not.
It was stated last night by whoever was doing the minutes. I apologize, I don't know their name, that they had that they had resigned. And so I don't know if that just hasn't been translated yet to you. Either way, I don't want to harp on that too much because we obviously don't know the answer, so that can wait. I just ask that, we have one position now, and if we can identify that there's an availability again that we can confirm to leave this applicant, one of the applicants for that next position instead of having them to go through the process again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is to wait until the actual confirmation is received by the clerk's office for the new.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'd like to nominate Bill Swiner for P&D alternate.
All right. We have a nomination. Is there a second to this nomination?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose say no. The ayes have it. The appointment is unanimous. All right, moving on to Police Officers Retirement Trust Fund. There are no applicants to that. And let me double check. Was there anything else?
Just leaving my house.
Yes, we do. We have a Recreation and Parks Board opening. And of course, we tabled the Senior Advisory Board appointment. All right, so let's proceed to the next item on the agenda. We have now concluded administrative 5A. We're now moving on to 5B, continued discussion on rescheduling the Tuesday, March 7, 2023 Commission meeting to Thursday, March 9th, 2023 due to a scheduling conflict with Palm Beach County Days taking place March 7th through 8, 2023.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to go ahead and reschedule that meeting to Thursday, March 9th, 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there is a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, for travel dates, can we talk about, I think Palm Beach County Days are March 7th through the 9th. Is that correct? Or
They're March 7th to the 8th, and typically you get travel days. Obviously, whether you're traveling to Tallahassee by vehicle or traveling by plane is the drastic difference. So if you're traveling there by car, it normally takes you about 8 hours to include breaks. Obviously, it's depending on speed, things like that. But typically for a trip like that, you get a day prior and a day after just for recovery purposes. So.
Is there a way to, I agree with Commissioner Cruz. It's going to be a long drive. When does Palm Beach County Days end? Is it in the morning on the 8th or?
It's March 7th and 8th, and typically it can go into the afternoon. It's really dependent upon the individual and the meetings that you've set up on both days.
Right.
Obviously, it's a networking practice for going up and making sure the city can, obviously you're only as strong as the relationships whenever you go up to Tallahassee for appropriating funds, things of that nature that can benefit the city. I know I had discussed with Mike Cirillo about providing alternate dates, and another alternate date that we had looked at was March 13th. That Monday, we don't have any CRA meetings, anything like that. And I think the only conflict is our city clerk will have a early morning because the next day is going to be the election on Tuesday. So she's going to have to be up and Adam at 4 a.m. So if we do reschedule it to the 13th, we just I'd like for you guys to keep staff in mind because it's going to be a busy day.
Yes, I would not recommend we do that.
Yeah,
not only for staff reasons, but it's impractical given 2 members of this commission is running for office. All right, so we have a motion made by Commissioner Hay to set that meeting date to Thursday, March 9th, 2023. We received a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those, if I remember that correctly, all right. All those in favor of setting that meeting date to March 9th, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items under consent agenda that my colleagues would like to pull? Take a moment to review. Let me know if there is an item under 6 consent agenda. All right. Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is passed. Moving on to consent bids and purchases over $100,000. We have 2 items. Is there any item that my colleagues would like to pull? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve consent bids and purchases over 100K?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hay, and I have a second from Vice Mayor Cruz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes unanimously. I just want to double check I'm looking at the right page. That concludes consent bids and purchases. There's nothing under public hearing, nothing under city manager report, nothing under unfinished business. Now we're moving on to new business. This is 11A. Consider the recommendation from the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board to rename the Boynton Beach Tennis Center to the Boynton Beach Tennis and Pickleball Center in order to highlight the addition of 6 permanent pickleball courts installed at the tennis center. So I'd like to have a member from our staff to speak on this item. And I see Mr. Young is approaching the podium.
Good evening, Casey Young, Recreation Parks Director. This item came aboard. I just want to kind of give you a quick overview. It's in accordance with Ordinance 06078, which is regarding naming of city facilities. Just to provide a quick overview, the process after the completion of the 6 pickleball courts at the Boynton Beach Tennis Center, a request was presented to the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board at the January 23rd meeting, where renaming of the facility was discussed to changing the name from the Boynton Beach Tennis Center to the Boynton Beach Tennis and Pickleball Center. We felt the board voted unanimously to change the name to kind of highlight the 6 permanent pickleball courts that have been constructed at the Boynton Beach Tennis Center. So it went through the process, it was voted, and then is brought here to commission for discussion for tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. Council, I just need some clarification. Do we need a formal vote or consensus? I'm not sure what the ordinance says about the procedure.
It's a formal vote.
It's a formal vote, all right.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you, that was quick. We'll have discussion.
I'll second discussion.
All right, we have a motion to change the name to, let's just be clear, I'm going to have it said on the record, to change the name of the Boynton Beach Tennis Center to the Boynton Beach Tennis Center and Pickleball Center. And we have a motion from Commissioner Hay. We have a second from Vice Mayor Cruz with discussion. Vice Mayor?
Just to be specific, it's within barrier-free park, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
same,
okay.
same.
Yes.
So really happy to see this happening in my district. Can we talk about maybe a little bit of the process of the update to the courts and maybe the amount of money we spend to fix those and to create the pickleball and so on and so forth?
Sure. So the project took place in December. It took probably about 4 weeks to complete. The project cost was about $35,000. What ended up happening was there were 4 hard courts at the Boynton Beach Tennis Center. We converted 2 of those hard courts into 6 pickleball courts. So they're permanent courts. They're open to the public. They have, patrons that want to use the pickleball courts have to check in at the pro shop in order to get assigned to a court in order to use them. So it has been fairly popular since we've opened them up. We did have a grand opening scheduled for this past weekend. Unfortunately, due to the weather, we had to reschedule it. So we're working on rescheduling it now. But so far, from our social media and just interviewing patrons that are using the course, we're getting a lot of thumbs up on that project.
Amazing. I know pickleball has become very popular within our sports nowadays. So thank you for that. And do we have a date for the new ribbon cutting celebration? Is it March 4th?
So
maybe?
Currently we're looking at March 4th. I know there's maybe some scheduling conflicts, but we're trying to make sure we can confirm with the elected officials and city manager's office to make sure that the date works for everyone. And then we'll move forward with rescheduling that event.
Thank you so much.
All right, excellent. Is there any other further questions or comments from my colleagues? All right, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, Casey. I just had a question as far as the renaming. What does that consist of? Are we changing the whole sign? What is that going to cost the city to change the signage? What in renaming it now the tennis and pickleball center, there's a lot of things that have to be changed. So how is that process? What's it going to cost to convert our signage? Are we doing that, or are we just doing an unofficial name change? What's the plan for this name change?
So I will say that the plan
Excellent question, Commissioner.
the plan as of right now was to get consensus from the elected officials to see if we move forward with it. One is to possibly put in the name on the building, definitely on our social media, on our website, on our pamphlets and information that goes out to the public. It will say that, and then we'll work on coming up with a scope in order to change signage if needed, or placing the signage on the building to highlight those the name change. So we've seen it across the board at other municipalities have done this, that have added pickleball courts to their tennis centers or tennis facilities, highlighting the pickleball as well to attract more people to the facility.
Mr. Young, it sounds like you'll be coming back to us with more information.
In the future, yes.
All right. Commissioner Kelly, did you have any other questions?
No, I just, we have the building that has nice empty wall space. I don't know, maybe a pickleball tennis mural or something that maybe we can highlight that pickleball's involved without changing, all going through all the efforts of changing signs and signage and everything, but it's just a suggestion. So, thanks.
All right, thank you. Before us is a motion. There was a second. All those in favor of renaming the Boynton Beach Tennis Center to the Boynton Beach Tennis
Mr. Mayor,
and Pickleball
if I
Center?
may, just
Yes.
roll call vote, just since it's
Oh.
under the ordinance, I would ask that it's roll call.
Sure. Let's do a roll call, City Clerk. It's not,
Just under. since
it's governed by the ordinance. It's not an ordinance, but it's governed by it.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Penserga,
Yes.
and a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Mayor, can we call a recess?
All right. Is there a second for that?
A what?
A recess. Would you
Yeah,
like a
5 minutes?
Why do we need? Okay,
5 minutes.
okay.
I'm comfortable with a 5-minute recess. All right. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is called back to order. We are now moving on to section 12 of the agenda, legal, beginning with 12A, proposed ordinance number 23-001. Again, these are first readings, and as such, our public comments will occur in second reading. Council, I'm going to turn to you to read the item into the record, followed by staff to present the item.
Sure. An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 1, General Administration, Article 5, Housing Initiatives, Section 2, Workforce Housing Program, CDRV 23001, to modify the existing methodology for the payment in lieu of workforce housing units program to include an FAR bonus, and to clarify the receiving areas for height, FAR, and density bonuses, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and effective date.
Thank you, Council. I see we have Ms. Radigan at the podium. Ms. Radigan, please introduce the item. Oh, 1 second. Is the microphone on?
Good evening. Yes. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Amanda Radigan, Planning and Zoning Director. I'll be presenting to you this item today regarding workforce housing. Manny, if you could change the slide, please. So some background on the current workforce housing program. The program as it exists today is a citywide program, and it is 100% voluntary. The program is largely differentiated by two sub-programs, one which is the building program, and the second one which is the fee in lieu of construction program. These programs are tailored to different applicants, and they also have different goals. The building program is tailored to workforce housing developers, and its main goal is to incentivize private investment and construction of workforce housing units. The fee in lieu of program is tailored largely to market rate developers, and the goal of this program is to fund the city's housing trust fund to implement workforce housing initiatives as desired by the city. Both of these programs currently are incentivized by density and height bonuses, and they both the eligibility requirements are different from each. So for building, it is required to provide a percent of overall units in workforce housing. That percent goes from 10 to 20%, depending on where you are in the city. For the fee in lieu of, you're required to contribute a fee for a percent of the overall units, and that again varies between 15 and 25% depending on where you are. So you pay for a percent of overall units, or you are building a percent of overall units, and the percentages change. Next slide, please. The amendment before you today affects exactly 2 points in the current amendment. Both of these points are within the fee in lieu of program. The two that we're going to be discussing in this amendment has to do with the incentives for the fee in lieu of program, and it has to do with how we are calculating the fee in lieu of construction payment. Next slide, please. So the first thing I'd like to talk about are the challenges around some of those points. The challenges currently with the program are that the bonuses are an all or nothing presentation. You get 25% and you get 24 feet or 12 feet, depending on where you are. There is no incremental way to give these bonuses currently. This encourages maximizing density and height because they're given all of it in one go. The other point of this is that the payment, the actual payment methodology, is based on a percent of total units instead of the bonus, which generally just discourages use of this program. The proposed amendment would allow applicants to pay the fee only on the bonus units that are being utilized. It's essentially a one-for-one fee in lieu of construction payment. So they are allowed to do 50 units and they are proposing 52. They pay the fee for the 2 units. Next slide. The next item that's changing does have to do with how we're incentivizing this. So the current challenges that we've been hearing is that we are allowing bonuses of density and heights, but it's generally infeasible to do because there is no allowance of area for that density and height to go in. So the proposal is currently to increase the floor area ratio by 0.5%, not 50%, it's 0.5. So what that actually means, in our comp plan, we are allowed to do 3.5 FAR. Our LDR allows 3.0 FAR. So this would allow, with workforce housing, to do
Acronym.
floor area ratio. It'll take me a while, but I haven't heard that for a few meetings. Floor area ratio. So currently, again, we are allowed to do 3.0. This would allow a bonus of 0.5, not 50%. So this is 3.5 total, not 4.5 total, just to be clear. It's 0.5. And again, it's notable to say that this is allowed within our comprehensive plan, and we are realizing it within the LDRs within this amendment, only through utilization of this program. Next slide. I am available for any questions, should there be any.
All right, thank you, Ms. Radigan. I'm going to open the floor now to my colleagues for questions and comments. I just want to start off by saying that what I have heard so far is something that I can support, and I'll tell you why. One, you've already said it. You are actually allowing for a sliding scale, right? So if we don't need to give them all of those parameters, the density and height, don't give it, right? Only give what you need, and don't throw everything at them simultaneously. So I like that idea. And in terms of the FAR, I want to thank you for clarifying that, because I wasn't sure myself. To go from 3 to 3.5 is a whole lot different than having a 50% increase in that value. So I'll leave my comments on that for now. Perhaps more things will come out of this discussion. But let's go around the dais. Would you like to begin, Commissioner Hay? Any questions or comments for Ms. Radigan?
I agree with your initial comments, because I was a little confused on that too. And I'm happy to hear that explanation of the 0.5, because I've heard different stories. You know, this is a one bite at the apple that I see as far as workforce housing. But I do support it uh, because I've been getting feedback from District 2 that we do need more workforce housing. According to, I do have this question. We are using HUD's recommendation of AMI and those different levels, the lower and moderate. What
So currently it is based on the county's numbers. One alternative that we explored maybe a year and a half ago was switching to Boynton's AMI, which is different. For example, these are old numbers because this is what was in my head a year ago, but you're comparing an AMI of 70,000 within Boynton to about 95 or 100,000 in the countywide, because those numbers are distributed through all of Palm Beach County and not necessarily tailored specifically to the needs and incomes of Boynton Beach Boulevard. I will say it's industry standard to use HUD's Palm Beach County numbers, but they do look very different for our city.
Who sets those limits for the county?
HUD does.
HUD does. Okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner?
Not right now.
All right, Vice Mayor Cruz.
I know in previous meetings, I've asked staff to maybe look into completely revamping our affordable or workforce housing program. It's been clearly stated in the past that it's not a successful program. I went to the P&D meeting yesterday and there were a lot of questions. One of them was, what is the current amount of money that we have in that fund? Can we get that answered today? Because they asked it yesterday, but they never got the answer.
I do not have that information. I will say, I believe the last time I asked, there was about $70,000. I'll give a range because I've heard a couple of things between $70,000 and $100,000. I do not know the source of those funds, but I can definitely get that information from the finance, unless someone from finance is here that may know.
I mean, we
90.
should.
Okay,
We really should.
Adam
We
said
really
90.
should.
So Adam remembers. We did look into this recently to have some of this information ready. And I think the last time we pulled the numbers, it was about $90,000.
Okay. So with $90,000, there's absolutely nothing that you can buy, any sort of land anywhere near Boynton Beach that could potentially in any way, shape, or form support the true act of building workforce housing or affordable housing. I know we have a project coming up, which is great. And we do have projects coming up in the future that will be providing that workforce housing. I guess my question is, what we're fixing here is the pay in lieu of to allow, for example, a developer to pay only one unit or whatever number of units it's going to use, and to use the pay in lieu of, not to actually build a workforce housing unit.
These amendments are specific to the fee in lieu of and specific to these two items. I mean, staff does recognize that this is a complex problem with a whole toolkit of possible solutions and policy that can be written around it. And we're happy to work on more extensive revisions of this ordinance.
So if this were to be passed, we're not actually building any affordable or workforce housing with, within this specific code.
So we still do have an existing building program. It's just not changing within this amendment. Now, to be clear, when we do fund the city's housing fund with any dollar amount, it can be used for anything that is permissible within housing initiatives. So it could be for the purchase of property, it could be for the development of property, it could be to fund grant programs for rehab. It can fund much more than just construction, and that is at the will of the city commission and any programs that the commission desires.
And then I'm reading 2, there's a new, I'm guessing underlined language means it's new language, right?
Yes.
So it says projects located within the downtown transit-oriented development district are eligible for a density bonus up to 25%. What does that mean for future projects?
So to clarify, that is not new. It is reiterated here. So previously, if you look at the strike through right under Roman numeral 2.1, that strike through is actually referring to those same standards that are previously in this ordinance. And for clarity purposes, for understanding this program, I reiterated them here. So the 25% density bonus is currently within the pay in lieu of program. And what that means is whatever the base density is, they are allowed to do up to 25% more if they participate within this program. Existingly, they would have to pay for a percent of overall units, which means they get all or nothing. They pay and they get the 25%. This would change it to be pay for what you use or what you need.
I want to tell this board, right now it's something that I've mentioned before, but we need to really look, and this is besides, I don't want to forget the ordinance right now, but in a general sense, we want to think about not just putting, for example, per se, a Band-Aid to the issue, but rather focusing on the core, like the actual problem, which is, are we building workforce housing? Yes, we're working on it, but what can we do in the future to make sure that we are building? Because sure, we can get payment in lieu of, but how does that really benefit the city? And the amount of money we get per unit, it's minuscule. It's not something that we can really use to make a really like a significant difference with the workforce housing. That was my thought. And then I have one more question for you. And I think we've talked about that before, but it's how do we determine when a unit gets, for example, more density? I know that there's some sort of like a half unit density bonus that units that are 750 square feet or smaller get for development projects. Can you walk me through that?
So to be clear, that is not part of the workforce housing program ordinances, nor is it affected by this amendment. However, there are existing land development regulations that are within the downtown core, which is a quarter mile around from the center of downtown, which is essentially where the Pierce project is, so the intersection of Boynton Beach and Federal. And within that area, the code allows for any units that are proposed underneath 750 square feet to count as half a unit up to a 25% density bonus. So what when this amendment came forward, it was an attempt that has been used by other cities to create naturally occurring more affordable housing within a market rate product. So in layman's terms, what that means is they would be providing more 1 bedrooms at more affordable rates than 2 or 3 bedrooms at higher rates. It's a naturally occurring way to get mixed income within a market product.
Which is already happening if we look at the market.
Yes,
and sometimes we do have studios that are about $2-3 grand a month. So because the size is smaller, doesn't guarantee that the price is going to be lower long term.
Right, and it's relative. So again, it's relative to what that market rate product is, based on the logic that in whatever building, you're always going to be paying more for a 2-bedroom than a 1-bedroom.
And my last question would be, could a developer use both of these? For example, the 25% additional density here, as well as the half unit count to add to 25%?
They cannot.
They cannot.
They cannot.
So it's an either or.
It is either or. The maximum density bonus that you can get in any mechanism is 25%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to say great questions, and I want to agree with one of the things you said, which is we definitely need to revisit workforce housing down the future. I know that staff is proposing amendments. This is not the end-all be-all, but we do need to come back to this at a future date for a much larger conversation and overhaul of the program. But all right, thank you for that. Let's go now to Commissioner Turkin. Questions or comments for Ms. Radigan?
No, my questions have been answered. I know staff has been working super hard on a lot of this stuff. So I just want to, say thank you.
My pleasure.
I know it's not easy and there's a lot that's going on. You got to deal with a lot of people, a lot of personalities, right? And you can never have enough time. I think, again, kind of what the mayor said, this is a conversation that I think we need to go more in depth with, especially if the current fund is, what is it, $90,000 or something? You know, that could build up, and like, let's say we had a couple million in that fund. How would we, or have we seen other municipalities utilize that? Would they, well, for example, if we acquire land, could we send out an RFP and get a contractor and build some townhouses? And then, you know, hey, if we can't, you know, push developers to bring in, you know, home ownership, could we then control that narrative and do that ourselves?
The short answer is yes.
Awesome.
So that is the goal of a housing trust fund, is to build more housing that is affordable and or to revamp existing housing stock. So for homeowners, you can offer rehab grants to rebuild their houses, roofs, hurricane impact windows. It can fund all of those types of programs.
So not just new construction.
Not just new
Okay,
construction.
right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. And, you know, we can't control what the market does, but if we offer ourselves, you know, a revenue source, then we can, as a board, dictate what kind of housing we want to provide, you know, and we can commit to that because
Yes.
we're not driven by the market. So I do support this. I think the idea of going by unit is better than percentage. And I just want to reiterate, this is 0.5% for the FAR, not 50.
It is 0.5. There's no percent attached to it.
Okay, point.
0.5.
Got it. So it's
Yes.
0.5. So what that will take us from where to where?
It will take us in most settings from a 3 FAR, which if you look at that diagram over the lot, that would allow like 3 stories. And if you do 3.5, it would allow 3.5 stories is the easy way to think about it. You're allowed half of your lot more.
Okay. And this is already, it's already permitted in the comp plan.
Yes.
Okay, pay the, and discouraging the density and height, you know, that's a big thing for me. So, you know, I mean, if we can discourage that, control what we control, generate revenue, you know, and you know, literally lead the charge of providing home ownership, this is the way to do it. So thank you for bringing this forward. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
your comments. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Commissioner Turkin. Let me just say one of the things that I really appreciated that you said, there were several things, but one of them was recognizing that when it comes to increasing affordable housing, it's not just about building new, but protecting and preserving our current affordable housing stock, right? It's the cumulative total of everything combined. So that often gets forgotten out of the conversation. So thank you for highlighting that. All right, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. I had one question, and I'm not sure how it happened, but how is it that we have a comp plan that doesn't match our LDR? Like, how did it come to be where now we're talking about this and our comp plan doesn't match our LDR?
It's done that way by design.
Okay.
So your comp plan is a set of policies where your LDR is a set of regulations. And what that does, that gap between, we have it that way in density too. So our comp plan allows, let's use just easy numbers. It allows 100 units per acre on a specific site. And then your zoning, which is in your regulation, only allows 80, which gives us the legal right to offer a 25% density bonus to make it 100. So nothing can break the barriers that are within your comp plan because they're policy. And your LDRs can use those policies in any way. It could be by right, which would be the first 80, or it could be within a bonus, an incentive, a pay in lieu of fee to reach the ultimate realization that's in the comp plan. So it's done that way by design.
The LDR is a little bit more fluid based on what the.
Absolutely. The LDRs, I always say, is a living document. It is meant to respond to the market, to policy, to the needs of the city. Your comp plan is your slow and steady, changes very seldomly, and has sweeping effects.
Got it. Thank you. I am glad to see that we're now really looking at this and looking at ways that this is one small step, just like my colleagues had said, of getting on track for bringing in more affordable housing. We know it's an issue. It's a huge issue. And I think this is just one way that we can start, revamping. We can't control the development, but we can control certain things to our benefit. And so, this payment in lieu of program would bring in funding that, it is very beneficial to the city and to potential, just like Commissioner Turkin said, to bringing in the ownership component that we can't force a developer to put in home ownership opportunities, but we can, with incentives and benefits, we can bridge that gap. So, and Amanda, you and I and Adam, we've been talking a lot, just like I'm sure I'm hearing tonight that my colleagues have too, about, revamping our workforce housing and what we're doing. And you and I talked, and I really want to know, I'm putting it on the record since I've had conversations with you, to find out what other cities are doing, what their incentives are, because they're getting workforce housing. They're having developers go in and build workforce housing. So I want to look at that. Clearly not an answer for tonight or even probably in the next month, but to really sit down and see what other cities are doing, what's working, what's not working, what can we do as a city to make sure, because everyone asks, what are we doing about affordable housing? What are we doing? And we need to,
Yes. Yeah, and I can offer two points to that. Staff is near ready to hold a workforce housing workshop. It is something that we were working on, like I said, about a year ago. The presentation is fairly well cooked. So all we would need to do is set a day and time. Workshop setting is probably what I would suggest, but it's at the board's discretion because it is a lot of information and it's fairly complex. And just a couple of notes, FAR has been on like the best practices list as a bonus. And the other thing that is very on the city staff short list, we're waiting to discuss this within a more appropriate setting through a workshop, is the actual fee that is tied to the fee in lieu of program. Those numbers are fairly dated, and I would assume a substantial increase on the per unit fee, but we would have to go out and do a rational nexus study by law, not an attorney. But I believe that is the mechanism to get that fee updated. So we would hopefully be budgeting for that here soon, doing a workshop to review possible policies, and hopefully pulling together a new overhaul of this ordinance.
Thank you. And so, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So under the payment in lieu of, there's a for sale unit amount per unit that the payment in lieu of is $82,986 as it is right now.
Per unit.
And
yes.
then the for rent per unit is $36,760. So for every unit that they're paying in lieu of, it's $36,760. So put it just slightly, and let's say just a development that is doing a payment in lieu of, what can we realize in our housing? I mean, I know it's hard to put a number on it, but it's a significant amount of money that would be going into.
I mean, I will use the current project that we've been reviewing just because I think everyone is very well familiar with it. And I think some of these numbers, I've been crunching these numbers, right? Because it's something that I do regularly. But for example, this town square development, if they were to fall under this new program, which in this instance, they are requesting to participate in, we would be looking at a fee in lieu of between $4.5 million and $5 million. it's substantial. Now, we are talking about a large amount of units, but you could do that same math on a 300 unit at 25%. It would be that number times 60. So these numbers do add up very, very quickly. The issue that we've had is the bonuses have not been feasible because it's been missing that 0.5 FAR.
Well, and
We're
it's
giving
been-
them two pieces of the pie instead
Well,
of
and they
all
had
three.
to pay for a bulk
For
of
an
units instead of-
overall amount,
right,
yes.
Right.
So
Which
the
is,
payment also has been substantially swayed because we were counting their market rate towards that fee, which is, it just hasn't been working.
right. I mean, why would they pay that amount of money to?
Yes.
Right. So, okay. So thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that was known, that we're talking about a significant investment in our housing.
Absolutely, Commissioner. And what I heard was, if we move forward with these changes, not only do we discourage maximizing density and height and all of these things, but we could see a windfall into our housing trust fund in the order of millions, of which we can actually do something with, right? Something significant. Let's go around the dais one more time if there's any follow-up questions or comments. Commissioner Hay, was there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I know normally it's not.
Microphone. Is it on?
It is now.
Okay.
I know this is the first reading and normally we don't have public input on this, but there's some people in the audience who would like to just give us some thoughts on what they have. So I would ask for an exception in this particular case. It won't always be that they have an opportunity to give us their input and their thoughts on this.
Commissioner, I'm not in favor of that. I want to stick to the rules. There are opportunities. They had the opportunity to speak earlier. They have the opportunity to speak again when this actually becomes a final and binding vote. But if there's enough members of this commission to make that exception, I'm comfortable, but I would rather we just stick to the rules so we're fair and consistent. That is my preference.
I'll support you in that, Commissioner Hay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Seeing not enough votes. Thank you so much, Commissioner. There will be more opportunities. Again, this is just initial run through. We'll have that.
Do we know how many people want to speak? Just in a general sense.
I mean,
Again, they had the opportunity earlier and I have heard them speak already.
my only problem is that people have left. And so if they thought that there was an opportunity for public comment, they wouldn't have maybe left.
Fair
And
to
so,
everybody.
right. So are we now making exceptions? I don't want that to be our habit.
Yeah, let's just be consistent. There will be more opportunities. This is not final. So,
And I receive that, but we have made exceptions in many areas. And I was just, that's why I even brought it up in the first place. I understand what you're saying. I respect what you're saying. Okay. But I just want us to know that we make the policies and we can make exception to the policies when we get ready.
I agree with you, Commissioner. That's why I said, was there enough people who were comfortable with that? That's why I asked. All right. Vice Mayor, did you have any other questions for Amanda?
No further comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner, any follow-up questions or comments for Amanda?
Nope. Thank you and Adam and development. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Kelly.
No, just thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a motion to approve ordinance number 23-001?
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Kelly. The motion was from Commissioner Hay. We're going to do a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, if you could begin the roll call.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Pensurga.
Yes.
In a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Radigan. We're now going to move on to the next item, which is proposed ordinance number 23-002. Again, another first reading. Council, if you could read the item into the record, then we'll go back to staff.
An ordinance to the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 3, Zoning, Article 3, Zoning Districts and Overlay Zones to modify requirements for commercial frontage within the Boynton Beach Boulevard Overlay, CDRV 23002, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and effective date.
All right. Thank you, Council. Ms. Radigan.
Good evening. It is me again, Amanda Radigan, Planning and Zoning Director.
Are you sure it's you again?
Gotta do it for the record.
You'll get me again for the next time too. Yes, okay, this is the right presentation. I'll be presenting to you today commercial frontage amendments. So these proposed amendments refine the currently existing regulations that were adopted in late 2022. These amendments are specific to parcels that front Boynton Beach Boulevard and are between Seacrest and Federal. The diagram that you see in front of you is the existing regulations and how they work now. So currently from I-95 to Federal, there is a requirement for 70% commercial frontage plus a 30% active frontage. So we are accounting for 100% of the built frontage. That requirement does also span on Seacrest, 1 block in each direction. And that's because those are the limits of the overlay which it is in. You can also see on this diagram Ocean, which Ocean has that same requirement, 70% commercial frontage and 30% active area. In this area, there are 2 overlays that abut each other. So there are projects that are fronting both Boynton and Ocean, and in some cases go down to 2nd Avenue also. The Villages is an example. Our Town Square Master Plan is an example of those projects. Next slide. So these adjustments to the regulations, which I will go in detail on the next slide, are responses to a couple of key factors that are specific to this area. First, the development pattern and the scale within this area, once you cross Seacrest, the focus on commercial and pedestrian scale uses has historically been on Ocean. Ocean has been the roadway that we are looking to put people on. It is the roadway where we are looking to intensify with uses where we want people to be. We have lower height restrictions on Ocean. It is generally a smaller scale. If you're looking at comparable, I shouldn't say use the word comparable, if you're looking at other downtowns in other cities, think of the scale of Atlantic, 1 lane each direction. The scale of Clematis, 1 lane each direction, covered by parking on both sides. These are the types of scale and scenario that accommodate good commercial spaces and allow people to be safely in these areas. And that actually changes at Seacrest. So from Seacrest to Federal, the plan is to create those uses around Ocean. The second point that's pretty specific to this area too is Boynton Beach Boulevard has been designed to move cars. I don't think that's a secret. It is an evacuation route. The scale of Boynton Beach Boulevard is 5 lanes. We have 2 in each direction, a center lane, and sometimes turn lanes. Its priority is to move cars and not necessarily people. And the last point is that within all of the developments that have happened within this area, so notably the Town Square Master Plan, the Pierce, Ocean One, I'm missing a couple, I'm sure. The Villages, yes, thank you. The Villages at East Ocean, all of these were generally designed to front and concentrate their uses on Ocean. The puzzle is almost complete. We're looking very good on how the developments are looking around Ocean. And what happened on these projects on Boynton is they had to do active uses instead of commercial uses. So we saw uses like flex spaces or live work units or designed residential to front the road, allow for front stoops, people to interact with the road in that capacity. Next slide. So the current proposal within this amendment changes the requirements within this area from Seacrest to Federal on Boynton Beach Boulevard to require 40% commercial frontage instead of 70, and then require the remaining 60% to be active, which is generally consistent with what we've done in the rest of Boynton Beach Boulevard from Seacrest to Federal. It also does eliminate the requirements on Seacrest for 1 block north and south. And the last change in this amendment is clarifying the language of how we're measuring minimum heights. So currently we have in the code that they have to be 13 feet, but we're not saying where we are measuring that from. So this clarifies that minimum height means from slab to slab. Next slide. I'm available for questions.
All right, thank you. Where shall we begin this time? I think we began with Commissioner Hay before. We can begin in the opposite direction. Let's, Commissioner Kelly.
Can we come back to me?
Absolutely. Commissioner Hay.
Pondering thoughts, sorry.
All right, we'll go to Commissioner Turkin. Whoever's ready, just go.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of reducing the commercial frontage east of Seacrest here. You know, you brought up Atlantic Avenue. And I look on the west side of Seacrest and I see Commissioner Hayes district to the north with a lot of houses there. I see my district, actually my neighborhood with 70% frontage there. If anything, this is something I heard from the P&D meeting last night that did make sense was, if anything, those should really switch. You drive down Atlantic Avenue, you know, you're in the residential area first before you get to that one lane road where it's Atlantic Avenue. And so if the idea is for this to look like Atlantic Avenue or really activate that downtown corridor, I think the practical approach would be maybe to switch that. You know, but and that's just something I want us to all think about, especially if our mission is to activate that downtown area. The opposite would, I think, do that.
For my own clarification, are you suggesting that from 95 to Seacrest go to 40% and then Seacrest to Federal remain 70%?
Yes.
On Boynton Beach? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
What I will
That
say,
is, that's what makes sense to me. You know, that's a lot of commercial in a very residential area. And, you know, again, that's just kind of what my thought is as of right now.
Yeah.
You know, we just passed this, you know, not too long ago. I'm not a big person and, you know, I don't like to about face on anything. And, but I think it's what's the purpose? What's the idea? What are we trying to do? And, you know, if we leave it as it is, great. But if we want to activate something, if we want something to look like Atlantic Avenue, then why would we do the opposite? And this isn't it. And so I would not support what's in front of me right now. But I would entertain a conversation of, you know, switching this.
sure. What's interesting about the specific section that you're referring to is currently 100% of the parcels within that area that are directly fronting are actually zoned commercial, which is why, but a different kind of commercial, right? That area is vehicular commercial. You can drive, you can park. East of Seacrest, I believe the goal to be transitioning into a much more pedestrian friendly environment, which means smaller, closer together. That was just, I could see that recommendation, but that is just why this isn't proposed in this amendment, but we're absolutely open
Sure.
to that too.
Yeah, I think we need to keep the, you know, commercial, you know, at where it is now. And if we want to activate and replicate what Atlantic Avenue is doing, then I think the guideline there would be to do the opposite. But you know, I think this conversation for another time.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Vice Mayor and then Commissioner Hay.
You already know what I think. Everyone knows what I think in regard to city staff. I strongly oppose this. I was the person who created this regulation because I was having the issue that it's true, not all developers, but certain developers, it's possible that sometimes they want to maybe not have a minimum so that anything can be done. I think that if we're building our downtown commercial core, it's imperative for us to focus on that and to prioritize that. And this commission has done that twice. It was a 5-0 vote on October 18, 2022, as well as November 14, 2022. So everyone about 3 months ago agreed that this is how we wanted to move forward. I appreciate, you know, the comments from earlier today that is something that we can make happen. And it's happening because it's in a code. And that is what I wanted to do in the city. I think that, you know, when we look back, when we're not here anymore, we want to look back at what kind of city, what kind of downtown did we build? And prioritizing our downtown commercial core is the most important way to do that. We want to keep our dollars here. We want to make sure that, density that we're building, if we're building a more dense downtown, then we want to make sure that we accommodate that with restaurants, retail and such. And there will be people who are going to be able to support those businesses. So it's helping create more of our building our local economy, as well as providing an ability for the people who live upstairs to just go downstairs, grab dinner, grab coffee, whatever. But I do want to have a significant amount of commercial space that can justify the density. And I think that, maintaining what we currently have would be the way to go. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're going to go to Commissioner Hay.
I sort of see it as being the same. I initially thought about changing it after you pass Seacrest to I-95. But I think that there are some restaurants, there's thinking down the road to the future. There may be some other businesses may come in that area, right there where the subway place used to be is a potential spot for restaurants and that kind of stuff. So I do feel that I could support the 70% commercial and the 30% active because of those reasons. So I need to have further discussion with you because I've got some issues that I want to not discuss right now if I don't have to do that. But I could support the 70-30 at this stage.
To be clear, the 70-30 is currently codified. The existing requirement is 70% commercial frontage and 30% active.
We'll let it stay as it is.
Got it.
All right. We'll go. Thank you, Commissioner. Was that it?
Yes.
All right. We'll now go to Commissioner Kelly if you have any questions or comments.
Thank you. I don't really have any questions. I think that I feel like it's too soon to go and make changes when we don't. It's not something that needs to be changed. I was happy to hear that, about the comments earlier about trying to, to work with us on the 70% because it is important. We want to make sure that, we know that Boynton Beach Boulevard is a major road. It's 5 lanes, like you said, but just having commercial frontage doesn't mean that you necessarily are constantly accessing. It's about being the frontage of it and showing that there's life there. And so I think that that's important because a wall is, it's not as appealing as open frontage. And so at this point, I don't see any reason to change it. I agree with Commissioner Turkin, maybe down the line that in between I-95 and Seacrest seems a little bit, crazy for it to be so big when it's mostly residential. I don't know that I would want a house next to, but but it's not something that needs to be addressed now. And I don't think it needs to even be discussed. So.
Yes.
I do have one quick question.
One second, Commissioner. Commissioner Kelly, were you finished? I just want to make sure before he goes.
Sure.
All right. Commissioner Hay?
I just wanted to ask one quick question to Amanda. Are the sidewalks being widened, expanded?
As part of a different code requirement, sidewalks are required to be a minimum of 8 feet wide. We are requiring street trees, and we are also requiring an additional 8-foot active area. Aside from this is not being changed within this amendment.
Okay.
This is simply the frontage of the uses that are abutting our sidewalks.
Okay.
Wait,
Thank you.
I don't
All
really
right. We're going to go to Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor, go ahead.
That's a great question, and it's something that I was thinking about asking in the future, but if we're asking it now, let's say, obviously, as the current law is, the 70% commercial frontage, how big are the sidewalks? Does it change when it's commercial versus residential, or?
The easy answer is yes. So they are locationally specific for main roads, arterial roads, and generally they coincide with where we want our commercial spaces. The requirement in the LDR is called the pedestrian zone, and that pedestrian zone is comprised of 3 different components. First is street trees, the second is a sidewalk, and the third is an active area. Your active area is where you could do outdoor seating, where you could do merchandise sales. It's a zone between the building and the sidewalk that can be active.
And how big? Like is
8 feet. So both of these are at a minimum 8 feet and 8 feet plus another 2.5 feet. So you're looking at 18.5 feet. Plus if there was any parallel parking on there. In the downtown area, it is a slightly different. We require 10 feet sidewalks instead of the 8. So it goes from 18.5 to 20.5.
That's going to create a vibrancy. I'm so excited for it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, Commissioner Turkin, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, I actually would like to see what options or what we could do to look at this residential area west of Seacrest towards 95. Because I think, you know, I'm glad my colleague agrees with me. It's a lot for my neighborhood and your neighborhood, and you know,
So
I think this is great that we brought it up because it's led to some other concerns. So thank you.
I do want to clarify that this is fronting Boynton Beach Boulevard,
Yep.
and those parcels are zoned
Sure.
commercial. Okay.
Sure.
So, and which is why the 70%, it has to be commercial.
Sure.
So these really would kick into effect once it's redeveloped. If it's redeveloped,
Okay.
is the only time that these would really matter. But I will definitely, I'll look more into it. I haven't analyzed this area as carefully as I have downtown, so I'll be happy to take a closer look.
No worries. Downtown's busy.
Yes, it is, keeping me very busy.
All right, Commissioner Kelly?
I just had one more question with regard to, the Boynton Beach Boulevard beautification project. I just don't remember off the top of my head, what are the sidewalk, that project is a different, what is that?
So if I remember, and Andrew next to me might remember the details, they were going to do a little bit of a lane diet. So they were going to not eliminate roads, but make them a little bit narrower in order to pick up additional sidewalk. However, that wouldn't take away from the code requirements of that 18 or 20 feet. So no matter what, it has to be at least that in that area. They can count if the city or through that grant building more sidewalk, they can count that towards it. But it doesn't remove the request or the requirement to do that.
Right.
I didn't give you dimensions. I'm sorry. I do not know the exact dimensions.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that, we're getting the most of what we're supposed to have, whether there's a FDOT beautification or not.
All right, thank you, everyone. As for myself, I will not be supporting this ordinance. I do want to stand by Vice Mayor Cruz. I know this is very important, and we have voted on 2 occasions unanimously. What I will say is I think a really important conversation to have is to ask questions like what kind of commercial and where exactly, because as much as I want the commercial, I also am struggling to envision, for example, a restaurant facing Boynton Beach Boulevard, sitting outside trying to enjoy myself with that many cars going by. You know, I try to do this in front of Guaca Go, and it's not something that, and this is a reason why people don't really do that. So we need to ask these more detailed, nuanced questions. We want more commercial, we want more activity, we want this dynamic atmosphere, but I want it to actually be practical. Will restaurants want to open in these locations if you're right next to such a loud, busy road? I don't know. And I don't want it to be vacant, right? So let's have that conversation in the future. But I think we know where the board is at this point. And yes, absolutely, Vice Mayor.
That was a great point that you brought up. And it's something that it was, okay, so there was a survey that was done, I think it was last year, within the CRA area, which is kind of our downtown area. And basically the response to that from local residents was very heavily, we want to see more restaurants, we want to see more retail, we want things to do, places to go. that is actually a great point that you made, Mayor, where you mentioning that, it is a busy road. However, we did talk about the update to Boynton Beach Boulevard, which is, I forgot the name of it's an FDOT project, I believe. What's it called? I can't think of the name right now. Streetscape, is it? So what we're doing in that project is we're making the lanes slightly smaller, which in turn reduces the speed limit or the traffic per se by making those lanes thinner. It makes people slow down, correct? Okay. And then there could obviously, I could definitely see restaurants there, but I agree with the point of what you're saying of sitting down outside in a place where there may be a lot of cars. But there could be inside seating. It doesn't necessarily have to be an outside terrace type of situation, but I think that it would help to accommodate the people upstairs that don't want to pick up their cars and drive and just, continue to add to the traffic congestion.
Yeah, I think that that is a very good point. While what's controlled within the zoning code is uses, and I'm not sure we could mandate what specific businesses go there. One of the options that I was pondering over the last 24 hours, just because we're using the terms flexibility, is instead of reductions, another option, if the board so chooses, would be to keep the requirements the same and add an appeal process that's approved by the city commission that allows flexibility in the location. So if we do have parcels, projects that are spanning bigger areas, there may be an ability to locate them in a more desirable or city-focused area. For example, I'll use one of the projects that is currently being talked about, the Town Square project. First Street, for example, does not have a requirement for commercial, and that's a kind of very unique thing that is very, the LDRs would not pick that up because it is so site-specific. Staff worked with the developers to get some commercial fronting the amphitheater, which is not code required. So if there was a more formalized process, if the board wants to see options for something like that, that is a way to add flexibility without changing the requirements. Or the way the process would be working now is we'd keep the requirements and staff will be working for those special situations. And of course, and the commission.
Commissioner Turkin was first, and then we'll go to Commissioner Hay.
Just so I'm not seeing things, I saw that Boynton Beach Boulevard was a hurricane evacuation route, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I personally think that commercial needs to be pushed south. It's crazy that there's no requirement on First Avenue. And, I agree with the mayor, it's eating outside when you got cars racing by, you can thin the roads. People are still going to speed. I think we'll probably see a little bit more accidents with the roads thinning. You can't do too much because it is a hurricane evacuation route. But I do like the idea of what kind of commercial I think is important to think about.
And Amanda, I just want to be clear, in that proposal, we would still have 70%.
Yeah, so the quantifiable requirement would stay the same. So again, for example, Town Square, they would be required their 70% on Boynton Beach Boulevard, but they, with city commission approval, could provide in some strategic locations instead of Boynton Beach Boulevard if the commission approved that. Again, this is something I've only thought of in the 24 hours. It's not fully baked, but it wouldn't remove the requirement for active uses because no matter what, I think I think that the goal is still to activate Boynton Beach Boulevard, but with what types of uses? Is active enough the amenity areas? Is it gyms? Is it quasi-public spaces? I mean, there are lots of options, and sometimes allowing for appeals allows for the flexibility of really unique things to happen.
All right, Commissioner Hay was waiting. Let's go to Commissioner Hay.
My question have been answered, but another one is that where you planning to find this 8 feet? I mean,
So for the pedestrian zone?
Yeah.
They are measured from the back of curb and required. So you
from the
measure
back
from
of the curb?
Yes, from wherever the back of curb of the road is, you literally count your 18.5 feet, and that is required to be developed as your pedestrian zone. And then your building can start after that. So I would think of it as a setback.
Oh, okay, a setback.
Something like a setback, right?
Okay.
You have to put things in those areas, but your building is now required to provide those 18 and a half feet, which pushes the building back to behind that requirement.
I see. Okay.
We're not going to build out into the roads. It's going to.
Okay. Thank you.
For now, I'll say thank you, Commissioner. I would be interested to see what staff would come up with to have some flexibility. Because, listen, we want the commercial. I'm going to stick to that 70%. But I don't want them to put it somewhere where they can't get a tenant, because then it'll just be vacant. I don't know. I don't know why that would be smart.
Yep.
You know, the market has some influence in this as well. So as long as there is commercial frontage and it's at 70%, if there's an appeal process, by all means, I'm comfortable with you presenting with that.
Great.
Is there any further comments, or we're ready for a vote? Nothing from my colleagues. All right, now I've spoken to council. We do have an ordinance, and we do want to have a roll call vote. So I would like to ask for a motion. You don't have to be voting for it, but just a motion in a second so we can do the roll call. All right, may I have a motion to approve, and then you can vote it down if you'd like. Proposed ordinance number 23-002.
So moved.
We have a motion, and is there a second? I'm going to ask for a second per council's request. So if you'd like to vote it down, you have.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Absolutely, right? So now I'm going to ask our city clerk to begin the roll call vote. And all right.
Commissioner Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Turkin,
No.
Commissioner Hay,
No.
Vice Mayor Cruz,
Nope.
Mayor Pensurga.
No.
A roll call vote, the motion
Does not pass.
not passed.
All right. Okay. We're going to move on to 12C. This is proposed ordinance number 23-003, another first reading. Council, if you could introduce the item into the record.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 2, Land Development Process, Article 2, Planning and Zoning Division Services, Section 2, Standard Applications, to add a section for development agreements, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and effective date.
All right.
Amanda.
Still me. Okay, so this next amendment is discussing development agreements and a process for those agreements. If you could go to the next slide, Manny, please. So development agreements allow for the city to set terms and conditions on developments. These are large, mostly large-scale projects and used within P3 projects like our town square. In my time here, Town Square has been the only development agreement we have gone into. I believe that there has been one other agreement within the history of the city. Per state statute, these agreements can have terms up to 30 years. That is the maximum. They can be lower based on the agreement. And what's unique about these agreements is that it actually freezes the land development regulations in place of the effective date for the entire length of that contract, of that agreement. Currently, the city does not have a process or a procedure to process these agreements, so we rely on state statutes and their minimum requirements for processing them. Next slide. So this amendment does three notable things. The first thing it does, it allows for a minimum acreage requirement. It is proposed currently at 15 acres. For scale, Town Square is about 15 to 16 acres. The mall is about 100 acres. And those are the types of projects that this tool is helpful for. Large scale projects, projects that could have a long life. There are maybe a couple of other parcels that may be eligible for this process. The next thing it does, it establishes submittal requirements that are above what state statute requires. For example, this regulation would require that a master plan be submitted concurrently with a development agreement. Currently, that is not required under state statute. If you were doing a single phase project, you would have to submit a conceptual site plan concurrently with a development agreement. And the third thing that it does is it allows for flexibility within current standards that can be utilized by the City Commission, and they are not given by right. They are essentially areas of flexibility for negotiation for the City Commission to utilize or not to utilize. Next slide. Those 4 alternative standards are listed here. The first standard has to do with the public art fee. This alternative standard would allow the public art fee to be established within this agreement if it varies from what code requires. The second has to do with reserving utility capacity. Currently, we do have a program that allows for the reservation of capacity for up to 1 year and for a payment. I'm not a utility person, but in layman's terms, what that means is that there is water at the plant that can serve this project. We can reserve it for 1 year currently. This allows it to be reserved up to 6 years and at no fee to the developer. And the last 2 have to do with the terms of the development order. The master plan development orders can be valid for up to 24 months. The code currently allows 18. And then it allows a site plan to be approved for up to 72 months when the current requirement is 18 months. This allows these long agreements, 10, 20, 30 years, to have development orders for longer periods of times instead of 18. Are my 3 minutes up?
No.
Ask for 15 more.
I had to. 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
I had to.
Amanda, I just changed it to the clock, Amanda, so I can see what time it was.
I'm
No, your
sorry.
time has expired. I'm sorry.
That was a good one.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so
Just blew your
so
thoughts.
again, the idea behind those 2 alternative standards that extend the life of the development orders are really meant to help compare to these long life of these agreements. Next slide, and I believe I'm available for questions if there are any.
All right, thank you. Last time we kind of broke the order in which we go about things. Let's just begin with Commissioner Kelly, if I could begin with you now. Questions or comments on this item?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Turkin?
So this is only for sites 15 acres plus.
Yeah, so this establishes a process and essentially says that not every site can request a development agreement. We're only going to enter into these types of flexible agreements with sites at least 15 acres.
Okay. And how many, you said just 2, the mall and then town square?
I can think of 2 off the top of my head. There might be a couple of other ones. For example, there's a parcel in that Quantum area that is undeveloped and an area that's not annexed that will be more than the 15 acres should that ever develop. There might be 1 industrial property on Congress. I would estimate maybe 4 parcels that would be eligible.
Okay. Yeah, that's my biggest concern was if this was for, every project that came through. I would not support this at all. I think 72 months is a long time.
Yes.
But because it's so minimal, the mall is how many stakeholders when that's years down the road. Yeah, because it's minimal, I don't see an issue with this.
All right. Oh, what is it? Vice Mayor, questions or comments for Amanda?
So what this means is that it's possible for a large 15-acre project to not be built or not secure a building permit for 6 years.
No, so this does not give anything by right. So this allows the city commission flexibility to negotiate up to the 24 months or 72 months.
Okay.
Exactly. So if this language or this flexibility is not built into the development agreement, the LDR standard rules would apply, which would be 18 months. So you could say 18, 24, 32, whatever the specific development requires for success.
Commissioner Hay?
My questions have been answered and I can support this audience.
All right, my questions have also been answered. Any final comments from my colleagues? One last round before we entertain a motion. All right, we have a motion to approve proposed ordinance number 23-003.
Sorry, can I make a?
We'll do, if you do the second, we can have a discussion. So I heard you say so move, and we have a second for discussion. All right, go ahead.
Thinking about line number 4, Upon approval of a site plan by the city commission, the applicant shall have 72 months to secure a building permit for vertical construction. Attorney, can you tell me what that means in legal terms? Because the way that you mentioned, like the way you're proposing it, is saying that it could give us negotiating abilities to decide or to determine up to 72 months. But if that's the case, I think we should add the word up to 72 months.
I'm happy to do that. It's a simple edit, but what I will say is if you're looking at the ordinance number 3 states that specifically. So the city
I'm
may
reading
elect.
the presentation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the presentation is an easier version to read, but if you look at the actual code, we say that the city may elect to enact the below alternative standards for development, which are subject to the development agreement. And then the actual, it is written that way within the actual standard. So the
You
shall
look
be
at line
enacted.
96, 3D, or, yeah.
On mine, it's line 79, I believe. If it is for comfort, I'm happy to add those couple of words to.
That's okay.
To
As
make it
long
fair,
as it
okay.
says it in the code or in the ordinance, that's fine.
Yeah, the ordinance
does.
states shall have up to 72 months to
Perfect.
secure a building permit.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, city attorney.
All right. Vice Mayor, was that it? All right. So
Yeah.
we had a motion. We had a second. City Clerk, I'm going to turn to you to begin a roll call vote.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Vanserga,
Yes.
in a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This concludes all of the items on our
Thank you.
agenda for this evening. If there's any final comments before we adjourn, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.